Good evening, speedrunning, and welcome in to this Super Metroid and A Link to the Past combo randomizer 2v2 co-op tournament race between Oumslaw and Died in Hype Cave. Exciting match tonight. I am Polar Bear Bunny, joined by Sinus on comms. How are you tonight, Sinus?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
Doing great. Excited for this match. Definitely want to give a big thanks to our trackers as well, MM2NES Cartridge and Jagger G. They'll be helping us out, keeping us straight. So Team Oumslaw is Hataka and Maniacal, and they're going to be racing Zempt in the Blue Crayon and Died in Hype Cave. All four runners pretty seasoned in like the SMZ3 weeklies and such, whether single player or co-op.
Yeah, these two teams have had a really different path to getting here. I think Oumslaw just lost their first match just this past week, and Died in Hype Cave has been making their way up through the bracket and have had a pretty hard-fought redemption arc, so to speak. But the Blue Crayon is definitely one of the newer names that has really improved very quickly. So I'm excited for this match. I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely agree. The winner of this match gets the pleasure of facing Plasma Gobur in the next losers round. Is that a rod on our island today?
It looked like a fire rod to me. Yep, so throwing out the meme locations immediately.
Yeah, definitely don't want to forget to peek that. Neither of Oumslaw going down to Blue Bryn early, just a super so far.
Yeah, I think we are getting to the point. Nice four-bomb tree pull there for the top tier. I think we're getting to the point in the tournament where we're starting to see runners really shine on their routing, and where just being able to clear the game as quickly as possible is not necessarily an indication of a win in this SMZ3 bracket anymore. Routing is going to start coming into play a lot more often and taking risks.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll mention, since I guess we've got an early Varia, I suppose, in the Sanctuary chest. This is a hard mode SMZ3, and that refers to the Super Metroid logic. So Hell runs can barely be in logic, Suitless Meridia, things like that, but no Hell runs today, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It looks like Hitaka, with that big tree pull, has decided to take those bombs immediately into escape. And I would be really surprised if they tried to break the back by stealing a key here. That's really tough to do with bombs alone. But at the very least, trying to route super efficiently because they were already at Uncle.
Yeah, I like the play if you can do it, but definitely not something I'm going to do without at least a sword. But Hitaka's surprisingly good. I shouldn't say surprisingly, but I don't know a better word. Hitaka's kind of like a name you don't hear very much, but in like standalone randomizer, he's in SMZ3 a lot. But yeah, Hitaka actually might try it. I wouldn't be surprised to see it.
And we're definitely seeing a sword and Quake in Blind's hut. And yeah, Hitaka is a name that is well known to me. Hitaka has knocked me out of both of the SMZ3 tournaments that I've been in. Hitaka is no slouch at this randomizer.
Indeed. Yeah. I'd say I'm most familiar with him or Maniacal. Maniacal, very strong in the Super Metroid side and competing there. Blue Crayon and Zempt are new to me other than the SMZ3 weeklies, but have shown that they can hang with everyone else, so
think I saw some flippers in the Lost Woods, so that's going to bring a couple of interesting possibilities into the logic that can be challenging to route effectively. Also got a red cane in the chicken hut coming up.
Yeah, and flippers are nice too. That is one piece of the puzzle to obtaining that fire rod. We'll need some sort of Dark World access and the mirror as well. Lots of good stuff early. I know I've seen at least 2 power bomb packs, so when they do finally get that morph ball, they don't have to worry too much about their ammo going into Brinstar and all the things that need bombs.
Yeah, that second power bomb pack really makes a difference in routing early SM. Unless you're one of those folks that does Brinstar skips on a regular basis. That's definitely not me.
Yeah, Tonka taking the memo that the flippers are in the Lost Woods, and he's gonna go ahead and do his houlihan now, because he can't do the houlihan setup the way he did it there, jumping off the ledge if you have flippers. And flippers, of course, puts our friend Zora into logic, 500 rupees for something probably bad.
Yeah, we'll have to see what comes of those flippers. If we get something in Waterfall Cave or in the Zora era pretty early, then that's kind of what the logic was trying to get our runners to reach. But if not, it may be an indication that we've got potentially an early swamp play or Ice Palace or something much deeper in the logic that we'll circle back around to much later.
Semt going for the houlihan as well, getting those free 225 some odd rupees. Yeah, we still charge me on the library, I believe, so that's gonna be Boots Lodge, so the runners are gonna be hoping for Boots soon. Charge is really nice in co-op, since you're splitting things up. A lot of times teams end up very slim on the ammo front, so Charge kind of takes that headache away of having to scramble for ammo at the last minute.
Yeah, that's a super good point and a great difference between running this game co-op and running it solo is that definitely the charge beam is probably one of those items that you treat completely differently in a co-op seed versus solo. If they were running this individually, you might see runners opt to potentially never come back and get that depending on their ammo counts by the time they get boots.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. There are plenty of solo seeds where it's not even worth it anymore to get charged.
And we've got some folks going neck and neck into Moldworm Cave, which is usually, it's a high density location where usually you get some information about the seed, but as we mentioned, there has been a good bit of stuff so far.
Flipper's definitely leading, but there's the thing that leads the most. The Morph Ball. On the NPC, Maniacal, remembering to talk to him. Very good. So that's just a ton of Super Metroid open for them, plus the various suit. They have a lot of options really early now.
And it looks like Maniacal's going to go check the Ice Rod location. This is something that potentially they might have done differently, having found that Morph Ball is maybe opted to orphan that Ice Rod check until much later. But that is certainly something that can come back and bite you. And I'm a little worried about Maniacal having half a heart left here. Those crabs do 2 hearts of damage on green mail, so this is getting a little tenuous.
He narrowly avoids death and makes it through. Yeah, like, to your point, I think solo, you might go ahead and orphan the Ice Rod Cave, but in co-op, you kind of lose the risk of taking the time to do that, because you're going to be clearing a lot of the game since you have 2 people doing it. Covering all your bases, making sure you're not leaving anything behind, especially early.
And now the blue crayon is making their play into escape, which we've already seen on Oumslaw's side, and Zempt gonna be the first person to make some use of that morph ball.
Yeah, I like diving right into SM. It's a great game. It's much better than A Link to the Past. No, I'm just kidding. Hitaka headed over and checking out the eastern area. Eastern is a crystal for us today, so we might just be checking out Saha. And may not dip the front.
Get a little information that Ice Palace is going to be our green pendant location today.
Spicy Ice Palace.
I could see a potentially different routing option here, where instead of Maniacal going from the Ice Rod Cave and doing the Flippers checks, having Hitaka leave Sahasrarla's house and potentially doing those might have let Maniacal go into SM as early as Zempt did. But I think they're going to get it all done, and either one is really justifiable here. Meanwhile, Zempt is having a super comfy go-through gauntlet with that Varia suit. Reducing environmental damage is going to be really comfy.
So Zempt is at 25 max power bombs already, and Maniacal just found another pack in the waterfall. So they are good to go on bombs. All of the runners, I'm pretty sure. Oumslaw is gonna kind of orphan the Zora check here, not having nearly enough money, whether they did Hooligan or not. So that's something they'll probably try and come back to with a catfish combo check or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that routing option. Having the morph ball just puts so much available in logic, particularly in hard mode, where you now have access to wreck ship as well, which is a bevy of other checks. It makes sense to try and quote-unquote save some time, or rather put it off until later when you can route it in a little bit more efficiently, just how you mentioned with the trollfish.
Blue gonna take another crack at the back of the escape in the dark here. Does have a sword and was putting that cane to good use. Those snakes can just really get around you though, and they do a good bit of damage, and they're pretty relentless. They don't die to one swat of your fighter sword or one little boop of the red cane, so they take a couple hits to kill. Always pulling out the quake. That's funny. It'll be a lot less dangerous now, I think.
Zempt has found the Bombos medallion in Brinstar Reserve. But yeah, the snake AI movement is really interesting, and I think is probably one of the most challenging things about doing the Dark Cross in the dark. But it's an excellent point that Died in Hype Cave has the red cane available to them because they are doing this post-Kakariko Village, where Hitaka elected to do this with bombs really early, and that may end up, depending on what Blue Crayon finds, at the very least giving information early, if not an outright potential item advantage.
Yeah, had the key there in Dark Cross, so Blue is just sequence breaking the lamp so far. So not a huge deal to runners as good as they are, but always exciting to see what's in the back here, normally accessed with the Power Glove. Ooh, Golden Pearl.
That's a fun.
It's a nice fight, and unfortunately I don't have like glove and a hammer or two gloves to kind of take advantage of that really quickly. It's likely that Hitaka and Maniacal will get to that soon as well. Most likely after a glove find.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best progression item, one of the best progression items that could have been there for Oumslaw. Given that it's not immediately usable, but absolutely required, they're definitely going to pick that up with the glove from the back in a big hurry when they do go to check it. So I think the advantage there for Died in Height Cave is pretty minimal based on that item.
Yeah, a lot of the times, I guess in this case with the exception of the Dark Cross in the back of Escape, all of the Sphere 1 checks in A Link to the Past kind of come out in the wash no matter what order you do them in. It happens, but it's pretty rare that you get an item advantage that you can take to Kakariko, like the flute or the bottle or something like that.
Aka's getting trolled a little bit by those Boyons.
That room is so bad.
Oh, it's the worst with Screw Attack.
Yeah. If you don't get your D boost, you're just ruined forever for that whole entire room.
Yeah, and we're gonna see a gate glitch here by Zempt. And my understanding of this is, I think the super missile is going in before the gate spawns and hitting the switch off screen, I think, is how this works. And then another cool divergence that we're getting here in routing is the blue crayon has opted for the pendant early, the pendant Eastern early, and they certainly aren't going to be able to finish it, but I think that might be their justification for doing this early, is that because it's a pendant, you might as well go in, get as much as you can, and hope you never have to go back.
Yeah, Eastern's actually a crystal for us today, which I think makes it pretty interesting too. Because yeah, normally you're not going to make this dip unless it is a pendant. But I guess in co-op, you're just mitigating those risks. Tataka finds the hook shot at speedrun. That's pretty nice. I think Blue just really likes dark rooms. That's what I'm getting from him.
So, picking up that hook shot, I think you've got to immediately start thinking about making your way to Paradox Cave to take as much advantage of that as possible. Although Kraid is very much on the way, and you gotta do it, so...
Yep. Pretty simple boss here. 3 items. Gotta do it, like you said. Might as well get it done really quickly. But yeah, the Paradox... Several items. More than 5 items. Yeah, and Zempt, with all his power, was able to combo pink and green Brinstar with blue Brinstar, which is kind of the dream. I don't know that he's found anything fantastic. He did find a 300 rupee, so he might be over the 500 threshold for Zora.
And Hitaka had some really cool movement in the Key Hunter room that I had not seen before, which is using a mock ball through there, just to avoid all the nonsense with the Key Hunters. That was pretty slick. I learned something today.
Yeah, I saw him do that the other day, and I thought it was pretty neat as well. I've never seen anybody do that. Ooh, another 300 rupees. So Zempt extra comfy for Zora if they want to make those checks soon. Michael getting his gate glitch first try there. He's had a lot of practice with this one, all his years of Super Metroid Randomizer.
And looks like the blue crayon is going to go and pick up their morph ball because they've pretty much exhausted all of their available Sphere 0 A Link to the Past checks, and not having found a glove are pretty much being forced to go into Super Metroid as soon as possible.
Yeah, all players are likely going to kind of converge on the same area here, kind of to the upper north area, and then especially with that hook shot, gonna take it to the mountain. It'd be cool to see someone go for the CWJ and head over to the wreck ship. and see if there's any goodies over there. A lot of times I like at least checking the moat item, because I hate missing an item that's just right there.
Yeah, checking moat is definitely one of those things that you want to do, and I think our runners are very much at the point where at least one of them has cleared green, pink, and blue Brinstar, and so you really have an ideal setup for one person to be going into wreck ship with the CWJ, and another person chasing down that Various suit looking for something in Upper Norfair.
Yeah, CWJ can be kind of scary to some people. Once you kind of learn the mechanics of it, it's not so bad. It's just kind of finicky. Like, it's, I don't know, it's frame perfect, 1 frame perfect to 2 frame perfect. So that scares a lot of people away, but I promise if you practice it a little bit, you'll get the feel for it.
Yeah, it really is. That's one of the great things about Super Metroid, which I imagine most people watching already know, is that it's the incremental skill increases, right? Every time you learn a new trick, it is like a concrete time save, and it's just learning those little things one at a time. I will say one of the things I am thankful for is that I learned to use Moonwalk early on, and that just makes it a lot easier for me to set up that CWJ, and it lets you do the Moonfall as well. It's just all around one of those things that can be really difficult if you've never used it before, but it's worthwhile once you get used to it.
Yeah, I'm actually a runner who doesn't normally use Moonwalk, but if I'm running a category where I know I will be utilizing the CWJ, I will turn it on just for the in-the-door setup, so I don't have to keep leaving the room and coming back. And Blue is going for it. This is exciting.
And unfortunately, Hitaka really has not found any value in the early Ice Beam check, or in, I believe this is called Business Center. I'm not up on my room names, having not done these quite as much. But the high jump location and post Crocomire. But
Yeah.
actually, that's all they can do logically right now without a way to climb up through Cathedral or go through Frog Speedway. And the blue crayon is through with the CWJ.
Yeah, very nicely done. Only took a couple tries there. I think he was the one practicing before the race. Let's see what the wreck ship holds. Nothing at Climb Supers, and Hitaka saving the old man.
That was a really cool scout that the blue crayon just did. They wall jumped up the left side of the lake here to check that item that requires a super missile to get, and I like this, but I only like it if you get it on the first try, which bravo blue crayon for nailing that first try. You know, it's very easy to sink way too much time into that, and it doesn't really save that much time to begin with. It's just one of those things where you can potentially get some information early while you've got some momentum going into wreck ship, and the blue crayon just demonstrating very nicely what you can do with that when you're well practiced.
Yeah, that's exactly it. In co-op, kind of just getting the information as soon as possible, even if it's not necessarily faster. Because normally that's more like a solo peak to make, because you can decide, you know, okay, nothing's there. I'm more apt to just go ahead and skip the top of wreck ship. But in co-op, you're likely gonna do it anyway. So it's just purely informational here in co-op.
And the blue crayon is going to be the first one giving us a Fantoon fight. Meanwhile, we're going to get some fresh checks from Hitaka in Paradox Cave with that hookshot. And I've got to say, Fantoon is by far, I think, the most difficult boss to do well in Super Metroid.
could agree with that because there's not a whole lot of options of ways to kill him. Like, I think vanilla-wise, Dragon is really difficult, but like in Randomizer, there's so many options of ways to kill her. With Fantoon, you've pretty much got the Doppler, and if you're lucky, you get X Factors or something like that. If you're really lucky, you get Microwave Fantoon, but that's pretty rare. Ooh. We did find a Spring Ball in Paradox that is technically access to Bubble Mountain.
Oh yeah. Another interesting thing is that that makes your trek into Wreck Ship a lot easier. There used to be a trick in normal logic, and Maniacal getting the CWJ on the second try, that was an excellent job. But that Spring Ball is going to let Hitaka get into Wreck Ship much easier than having to do a CWJ. I really like that trick. I forget what it's called, but it's definitely one of my favorites.
I don't recall a name for it either, but I dislike that trick because I'm bad at it. But I digress. Oh, the ice rod on the other island.
The Island of Rods.
Yeah. Haven't been able to get a Dark World map check yet, so we don't know if we need that ice rod for sure or not, but at least we know where it is when and if we need it. And it's right next to Turtle Rock, basically. So, very handy.
And the blue crayon is going to pick up a bottle on the right side of Wreck Ship here. And that's kind of one of those really feels bad type kinds of items to find when you're diving Wreck Ship or anything that you kind of didn't want to be any location where it's kind of difficult to get to, because then it's just a fetch quest on top of some difficult tricks. Overall, again, the blue crayon is making Super Metroid look really good here. There are lots of tiny optimizations that you see over a long period of time, and the blue crayon is displaying them nicely, like power bomb placement coming out of rooms when they do so to make sure that they're not destroying the floor in certain places, so that they can really cruise on through Wreck Ship as quick as possible. And getting that kind of tricky power bomb jump in the moat there, that's definitely one that takes a lot of practice too.
Hitaka obtained the speed booster there in Spiral Cave, so has super easy access to pretty much anywhere he wants. If I'm Hitaka here, I'm going to Croc, but that is precisely because climbing Bubble Mountain with speed booster is not fantastic. You can make this jump with speed on, but it's really difficult. And especially if you don't know those right side wall jumps that are exceptionally tricky. Yeah, this is why I like doing Croc first, because you can get all the Croc items with just speed booster. Yeah, he's got the option of spring wall jump as well, which looks like that's what he's gonna do to get to the reserve first. But yeah, I always put off Bubble Mountain if I don't have a great item for it.
That's an excellent spring ball jump there by Hitaka. They definitely tried with all of their items on. They wanted to avoid going into the menu if they could, and I think that's worth the one try they gave it, and then immediately going for the more comfortable spring ball jump afterwards to get the sure thing on the second try there.
Dual bottle pickups for Oumslaw, and then the Master Sword there at the reserve. Always nice to find those swords in easy for your partner to get places, because nothing feels worse than being the partner who ends up with Master Sword and your partner has Gold Sword.
Yeah, definitely in Silverless Seeds. Those are those are the worst.
Yeah, again, he's gonna kind of have a little bit of trouble here. Yeah, taking off the speed booster and going into the save room will get him the right amount of jump height to easily climb to the other side of a mountain. Let's see what's at this reserve item. Oh, it's the bow! Hataka will be able to get that. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Blue Crayon cannot. Stemt will likely find that speed booster pretty soon, as well, so it's not a big deal, but it just kind of feels bad to come up here and have to come back again. I'd actually consider, if I'm the Blue Crayon, I'd consider leaving after checking Sky Missiles, and letting Zempt, when he gets Speed Booster, do bowling. Oh!
I think that is even more so an even better play now, because now Blue Crayon has tons of stuff to accomplish in Meridia, and could definitely defer the rest of those longer checks to their partner, like you said. That's a really good routing decision I wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah, like, I think, especially with Gravity giving you other things to do. Obviously, they don't know that they're going to get Speed really soon, so I can't fault them for that. But it's really unlikely that Speed is here in bowling, just waiting for them to use and grab that bow. Speed, though, also really handy for Meridia. Won't be able to full clear Meridia without Speed or Ice Beam, and does not appear to have enough ammo to Crystal Flash Clip if he wanted to.
Yeah, those Crystal Flash clips are definitely beyond my skill level. I mean, Ice Clip is one of those much more common things, but Crystal Flashes can be really temperamental, and those are high pressure situations too, being at low health, and if you screw it up, you've got to like load a save or damage yourself all the way down, and you may not even have the ammo to do it again. So those are really really spicy things to be trying to pull off in Meridia.
Now, Maniacal sees the bow there. I think Maniacal will definitely leave because he knows where Speed is. So there's no point in doing bowling if you're just gonna have to come back again. I think Hataka there found Grapple Beam at Cathedral, which, with a gravity suit, is possible to check the old check tool early. There are still a lot of things in Meridia you can check without Ice or Speed, both the sand pits included, and that's 4 items there.
Yeah, getting the grapple when you already have speed booster or other can fly items really mostly is Shack Tool and X-Ray, two really out of the way checks. So seeing that grapple beam is something I would not be super excited about.
It does give them access to X-Ray, which I think is a commonly orphaned item in SMZ3. You kind of go through that way after your Brinstar cleared. If you don't have an item for it, you kind of say goodbye to it, and you don't ever really cross that path again. So good to get that check out of the way early if you think about it. Michael does get his gravity, and yeah, he thinks better of it. He's gonna go ahead and leave since he's gonna have to come back through bowling anyway. Honestly, if it were me, I would have left without even checking Sky Missiles, which would have been sad in a way, but also, like, I'm going to get Speed and come right back and have a much easier time checking Sky Missiles, so all evens out.
And fortunately for Died in Hype Cave, and a little bit unfortunately for Oumslaw, Maniacal is going to end up in the same situation that the Blue Crayon is in, where they had to leave the bow behind in Wreck Ship. So still very much a very equalized playing field overall between these two teams, despite small divergences in routing.
Yep. Also, having to leave behind the X-ray for now. Probably get Hitaka to check that on his way back down. Yeah, the bowling cutscene though, the cutscene itself is like 30 to 40 seconds, and Blue Crayon will have to do the whole shebang again. But those time sinks are a little bit less costly in co-op, I think.
Yeah, and Asder, as usual, being like the third commentator, always noticing all the cool stuff happening. Maniacal bailed after the gravity suit pickup at Missiles in the Sky and absolutely took advantage of that exact situation you talked about earlier, just bailing on the rest of Bowling Alley and potentially saving a little bit of time. And a mushroom at the grapple beam location.
Ooh. Yeah, Hitaka being a little silly. Doing the wall jumps up to get a horizontal shine spark. You can actually make this running jump with speed. You don't need high jump without wall jumping and doing a spark across, but you know, gets the job done. That's all that matters. I don't know if anything else was here at Croc. But if you get a mushroom somewhere like Crocomire, a place that your partner doesn't necessarily have to check, you kind of want to check those things as soon as possible. That way your partner knows whether or not they have to do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Maniacal is gonna turn that in just yet. There's just so much to do in Meridia, but if Maniacal does decide to do it at all, I think now is definitely, or sorry, if Hitaka decides to check on that mushroom, it will be relatively quickly.
They do have, I think if you're Hitaka, you can enter back into A Link to the Past, the portal up here, save and quit back to the house, and you can take the flipper portal right to the mushroom house. And then, if the mushroom is nothing, he can reset and have it for fake powder.
Yeah, especially with that red cane on hand, I would definitely want to be hanging on to that mushroom just in case.
Looks like he's doing just that. Blue very shortly gonna get speed. So they will have that bow available to him, but still no Eastern clearable without the lamp, technically in logic.
I love this routing by Hitaka, coming right out of Super Metroid and using the portal near Hype Cave, the Zora Warp portal, going right up next to the potion shop and saving a little bit of time over the save and quit. And just finding the 50 rupees, they're definitely going to reset and save scum that mushroom.
Yeah, I can't recall. I think it was Blue or Zempt who already turned in the bottle at Sick Kid, but if it wasn't Hitaka and Maniacal, that would be a good thing to combo with the fake powder. Turning in that bottle finally.
I think Maniacal going out of their way to pick up Speed Booster now is a really good move. You're just going to save so much extra time by having the Speed Booster in general, and then just the compound nature of also having that available just in case there's an item at, I believe it's called Main Street in Meridia. Or wait, no, that's not it. Anyway, it's the Speed Booster locked item in Meridia. You definitely want to have that before you go in there if that's your next play.
Yeah, you're right. It's the Main Street missile. Yeah. Also brought up by Shadow in chat, because they have that moon pearl that they sequence broke earlier. They can actually get all the way through Meridia to the Dark World portal and swim with their flippers into the Dark World. So they've got Dark World access by sequence breaking the lamp.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those less common Dark World access routes that show up in SMZ3, and it really forces you to make decisions around traveling to Dark World, just because it is so far out of the way, without having a good way other than going all the way through Meridia to get there. You want to make sure that you don't leave, especially like a hammer, behind you before you do that. You want the one time that you go in there to be the only time that you have to travel to Dark World via Meridia if you can.
Yeah, for sure. It's not the most fun Dark World without hammer or glove or both. Because, yeah, your options are pretty much like pyramid or pod. And they do have the bow, which gets a lot of pod done, but can't complete it without that hammer. Yeah, they got the bowling sink from Died in Hype Cave. Who's gonna get it first? Hurry!
Yeah, I'm actually liking the sounds of pod right now based on our item set. It just seems like that's our flippers travel, right, in Dark World, along with the oh wait, no, the Moon Pearl is currently logically broken, right? They would need a lamp or a glove to get that. So we'll probably see one of those first, and maybe see our runners put off using that Meridia portal until they put that Moon Pearl back in logic. It kind of depends on how things go in Meridia, really, I think, from here.
Yeah, it's pretty decent odds that one of those, the glove or the lamp, shows up here in Meridia. In that case, Blue Crayon will not have to make an extra trip back out to grab the Moon Pearl. He'll be able to go through to the Dark World in one fell swoop, which will benefit his team. Manaka and Hitaka, I don't know when they're going to get back to that Moon Pearl there.
And Shadow Amp is pointing out that they can get to west side Dark World with the flippers and the hookshot, which that definitely that's another one that it feels pretty gross to be doing that. I do feel like we got an item behind the hookshot, which was our speed booster that led to the bow. So I think it's much more, if it's me and I'm taking the Meridia portal, I'm checking pod first to chase that bow, as opposed to hookshot flippers, which have already led me to progression. But you know, you can get trolled thinking like that as well. But I think that's what I would do in that situation.
Yeah, and there's that glove at Main Street Missiles for Maniacal. So right on the money there. The speed booster proving to be pretty huge. Luckily, all the runners running into it pretty easily. Yeah, there is that whirlpool right outside of the Meridia portal that takes you kind of close to the house, the Dark World Potion Shop. Not quite to Catfish, but close. So yeah, that is another decent option. So we're Moon Pearl fully in logic now. It's just a matter of when Oumslaw gets back to it.
Yep, and I think if you're maniacal right now, you are hoping for easy Dark World access. Although Oumslaw currently doesn't have the knowledge on the Moon Pearl, so that may force them to make some different decisions once they get done with Meridia, and may present an advantage or an opening for a died and pipe cave to take advantage of.
I'm gonna go ahead and clean up his crate. Well, Maniacal in full swing here in Meridia. Taka just grabbed his bow. We'll likely see him rush the glove as well. I hope he stops at X-Ray since he had that grapple beam earlier than Maniacal.
And the blue crayon is going to be getting a rough Kraid fight here, having missed the... they fired a missile into Kraid's mouth, and after that you have to land the super missile in just the right way to freeze Kraid's mouth open, and that's much tougher than doing it with the 2 missile strategy at the beginning, especially if that's what you've practiced, and was also running out of super missiles on that fight, and so definitely lost a little bit of time there.
Oh yeah, does he only have 5 max supers after all this time?
I think that's what it says.
That is craziness. That's not comfy. Not comfy at all.
Agreed. Yeah, especially with Dragon being in Logic, although Maniacal's going to show us the Plasma Beam at Aqueduct and Screw Attack.
The Lower Norfair care package.
Indeed.
Screw Attack, of course, just busting through all of the enemies. Plasma, a good substitute when you don't have Screw Attack, using the hitboxing technique to run through enemies as you shoot them. But both, I will take.
And Blue Crayon's going to show us a Stutter 3 here for the Main Street missiles check. And looking like they're going to opt for the slightly easier ledge up here instead. That's a pretty temperamental Shine Spark to get on the very bottom.
Yeah, I want to say the bottom requires the stutter or maybe a 4-tap, whereas that ledge, even a 2-tap will do it on this top ledge here. Michael gonna try for... Oh, he's bailing. Yeah, I was gonna say, the Shack tool check, it seems like a good idea, but without height and for space jump, it can be a lot of work to get up into that gap. Michael's just gonna bail for now. Not worth it.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. Especially in co-op where you've got a partner who can potentially check that more easily at a later time. Although I will be the first to admit, I think Meridia is definitely my weakest zone in Super Metroid. Just there's, you've got Shack Tool and Plasma, which are some pretty far apart and restricted locations. And then routing in the sand pits, it takes raw time, and routing it well is really the mark of good players, and it's something that I definitely don't have down yet.
Yeah, like the 100% Super Metroid category, routing Meridia is just amazing to see every time, because I have no idea what I'm doing, and I am lost when I'm in Meridia. The worst is when there's something good in both sand pits, because then you have to kind of haggle with yourself and decide what to keep at what time, and then when you're gonna go back for the other one.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous for Maniacal here. No charge beam, only has 6 supers left. I'm pretty sure he's gonna nail this, but I would not be so brave against Batwoon with that ammo count. He finishes with 1 super and 5 regular missiles for Batwoon.
Oh, nicely done. Yeah, that takes some guts. Luckily he had the save right there, so he wouldn't have, wouldn't have been a travesty if he had soft locked, but that is a very real danger, and you can sometimes run into that Batwoon room and not even think about it, and realize, oh, I don't have ammo for this.
Love that really cute diagonal Shine Spark there to kill the first set of enemies for that farm, and then using the grapple beam really efficiently to very quickly farm up ammo for Dragon.
Yeah, a lot of times grappling, like the bugs, like say in Norfair and stuff, is not the optimal. The gamuts where they come out like 5 apiece, but I think inside the sand with those bugs there, grapple works out pretty well.
And the blue crayon is now getting the lower Norfair care package for their team, getting the information on that in the aqueduct.
Funny enough, it's also the plasma beam check care package in a way.
And I'm pretty sure Maniacal is going to set up for a grapple beam kill here, but I am also pretty certain that Maniacal is going to be shine sparking and pumping as many super missiles as possible in Dragon, just to save every little bit of time that they can, because it all counts at this point. And these races can be decided by remarkably little given how long they are.
Very nice on the quick grapple there. Got a second round goop phase, so that's pretty nice. Yeah, because you never know if she's gonna do her goop or not. It's all random. You can't really manipulate it, so good to get the shine sparks and the ammo in while you can. Nothing behind her though. We'll see if he does decide to check plasma.
And you know, we kind of take those grapple kills for granted, but doing it in the way that Maniacal did really is quite a challenge, being able to get that as you are being grabbed by Dragon, particularly without high jump boots. You have to have really good reflexes for that. So that was very impressive.
Taka taking on the Armor Sights, getting her first look at the end of Eastern. I think he might have already gotten all 3 items. We did see the cape in the big key chest. Oh, and the blue boomerang. So Eastern clear, nothing but the cape. We do have the ability to look at the bumper ledge, as pointed out, the trek through the Meridia portal, and hookshot across the river, but probably won't see that for a little while.
Man, the blue crayon is in against Batoon with even less ammo than Maniacal.
Yeah, I don't think he has enough. I hope he took
It's
the
close.
save.
Oof.
Batoon was looking pretty slow. He might have been about 600 to 800 damage away. It's hard to tell on other people's screens, like the different colors, the very slightly different colors. But yeah, if you're counting on missiles, I find it a lot easier to use your regular missiles early in the fight, because it's really hard to hit him when he is going fast with those regular missiles. If you think hitting him with supers is hard, hitting him with missiles is 10 times harder.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point that you don't always get when you're watching these races. Is that super missiles absolutely travel at a faster velocity than regular missiles? And correct me if I'm wrong. Super missiles do they do double damage against Batoon similar to other bosses?
Not against Batu, no.
Okay, so they're still a ratio of 3 to 1, so missiles are justifiable a little bit in that way then, I guess, from an ammo standpoint. But I am always surprised by this randomizer, how it can, even after lots of different seeds like these racers have gotten, put you into situations that you're like, yeah, I've killed Botwoon hundreds of times. It's you just walk in there and you do it, right? But then you get into these weird like low ammo situations, or God forbid, you end up in Turtle Rock with 5-heart green mail at the beginning of a seed. These things happen, and it's always great to see our most talented runners tested in the best ways possible.
Yeah, you really build up your repertoire of experience kind of without really realizing it. He's looking a bit better here. I don't know if he has any more supers left. It's hard for me to tell.
Yeah, it looks like they're out of supers again here. But they got it.
Gets him. Nicely done.
Indeed.
Alright, Maniacal finds the moon pearl, unfortunately after already taking the portal out. So if he wants to go back to the dark world through this direction, we'll have to trek through Meridia again. Let's see if he's got any more outstanding checks that he'd like to do. You know, they do have the ability to go into Lower Norfair.
Yeah, you could do a gravity jump, and I guess you could also do the Shine Spark, as fun as that is to try and do.
Fancy people strats, yeah. Yeah, I think if you're Maniacal and you feel like you kind of missed the boat on that moon pearl and having the chance to go into the dark worlds through the Meridia portal, that's your next best option, I think. And it looks like that is what he's going to go do. This gravity jump, fully in logic, because they have the gravity suit, high jump boots not required for this to be in logic in hard mode, and well within Maniacal's skill set. Well, Hitaka, nicely, pro Shack tool checker over here. We're gonna get our first look at that.
Yeah, that was a really excellent gravity jump, and definitely looked very practiced. That was awesome. It is deceptively difficult. You know, a lot of people have heard of a gravity jump, and sure, doing it in the water is one thing, but doing it while trying to navigate the sand in the bottom of that room is a whole different beast. Because, and this is one of the things that always amazes me about Super Metroid, right, is not only did they code water physics, but they coded sand physics and sand in water physics. You know, there's just so many layers to it. Like it's like a really good candy bar that has all those different awesome layers in there. And oh my goodness.
Talk about layers.
Yeah.
Got ourselves fetch quest. So yeah, Taka has to keep that shovel because we have to know what it is, of course. As Maniacal makes it into Lower Norfair, and Blue is in pod.
Yep, as I mentioned earlier, this is definitely the play I think I would make, chasing that bow down. And as we know from Team Oumslaw, Eastern, the Armos boss definitely didn't hold the answer. So I like this play, but as it was pointed out, it absolutely could be a lot of different places in Dark World hiding our team's next progression.
Yeah, I think I got silvers in that first chest of pod, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody got silvers. But yeah, that's kind of funny because if there's an item in that first chest in pod instead of a small key, then the whole dungeon is logically locked by the bow. And we sort of got a bow in the first chest.
Yep, and I mean, it's so great to have silvers right at the beginning of, or rather, you know, really early on in your A Link to the Past game. It's going to make clearing all those bosses so much quicker. So that's a nice early find. And meanwhile, Maniacal, taking on Gold Terizo, I think has a good number of super missiles, getting some good information, finding out they're not going to need the space jump later to complete the seed.
Yeah, I definitely like this play to take the save up at the top of Lower Norfair, check out Golden Terizo area, and then reset if it's nothing. Then you can safely go into the portal, check out the Mire area if you so choose, without worrying about your reset taking you back to the ship. Yeah, the thing about pod is it's really tricky to route without the mirror, and then especially when you don't have like the hammer and the boots to kind of take you back to the front from that right side. You see a lot of death warping. Luckily, Blue only has 5 hearts.
Yeah, but the blue male is also playing some role in hindering them a little bit.
Hmm.
And I just want to go back to your earlier point about Maniacal is making this really cool heads-up play here, right? Realizing that, oh, maybe I should have had the Moon Pearl when I went in here the first time. Um, and choosing instead to cut their losses and go check something else new and not letting that slow them down. And it looks like Maniacal is probably going to be going to check Meyer Shed and get some medallion information about Misery Meyer.
Yeah, Maniacal and the Green Gakeless just do not get along. Um, I use a lot of supers there. Luckily, the Ripper's pretty easy to kill with Screw or one of his 80 million power bombs. Get free supers there. Yeah, Meyer is a good check. Get the medallion information and the Dark World information. Not as great without the mirror as well, though. Looks like, yeah, Pendant Pod and Green Pendant Ice, which we knew, and our other red crystal is Meyer. So Meyer and Desert are red crystals.
Yeah, I'm a little worried for Maniacal here, because if they're gonna continue pursuing Lower Norfair, oh my gosh, the key to Meyer right there in the
What?
back.
That never happens.
You almost can't ignore that now if you're Maniacal, and I would be really surprised if they don't go right in having the cane. Although no fire source is really feels bad, Meyer leaving 2 checks behind there. But there is, it's a gamble. There's only 2 items in Meyer, and Maniacal may get them, may get really lucky here and find both items and never have to go back. I still think this is a really smart play.
I absolutely like it as well. Might as well give it a try, see what you can find without fire. And yeah, he might, if he snags the big key, he could clear it if he's so inclined. Meyer Dark Room not being a favorite dark room of many runners, but doable. Does have the bow for Vitreous, so that's kind of okay. Doesn't have the silvers like blue though.
Yeah, and kind of going back to finish my earlier thought, I'm a little worried for Maniacal if they choose to go back into Lower Norfair. They have really limited options to climb out of the Screw Attack room. They're gonna have to either fight Gold Terizo for a speed booster, or do like a really challenging Spring Ball jump.
Yeah, that spring ball jump, I actually like it a lot better without high jump boots. I find it to be quite a bit easier. He'll have to do it in the Screw Attack room and in Worst room. Maniacal is pro. He should be okay with it though. Oh, there's those high jump boots ready to ruin your spring ball jump. Which now well, I guess he will still have to do it. No, he has speed, high jump, and screw. So he can actually do the jump from the energy refill room and break the blocks at the same time. So, oh, Spring Ball is obsolete now.
It looks like the blue crayon is unfortunately leaving Pod mostly empty-handed without the hammer to finish it. The best that they found there is silvers, which technically is considered in the logic to be, I think, for hard mode, still a type of progression, but of course, runners can find their way around not having silvers. So that's kind of a rough pod, especially considering, as you mentioned, the way that they had to route all of the deaths in it. It takes such a long time. That's gotta be in the back of Crayon's mind as they're moving forward, and it may force them to make riskier decisions for the rest of the seed.
Yeah, a little surprised not to see much of anything there in Pod. Yeah, again, it is a pendant, so might never have to come back. Zempt could possibly, if they snag the mirror here soon, could, oh, there's the powder on the pyramid. That's nice. I like powder. Be able to snack those, silvers right before going into Eastern. So might hold out, till they find the mirror before they go back to Eastern. Michael gonna show us this jump I was talking about. You need to be standing on the little line in the floor, not all the way back, in order to get it. Well, he's gonna do the in the door setup because he's fancy man. He did a really nice job. Nice job, Michael.
Yep, there's that moonwalk paying dividends again. And Maniacal's gonna farm up a couple of super missiles here with all those extra power bombs that, you know, we have been very, very jealous of through the beginning of their seed. Gonna take advantage of that to farm super missiles here as opposed to later in Lower Norfair. I've never seen or heard any data on what is faster to farm super missiles, but this definitely feels right to me.
Yeah, I find the power bombs easier than the screw attack because you kind of miss some of them with the screw over and over again. So I always use power bombs. A lot of people like to just use the grapple beam to farm in the room right before Ridley. I think this is probably a little faster than that, since you're guaranteed to get supers pretty much until you're full.
And it looks like Zempt is going to bite the bullet and give us our trollfish check. And meanwhile, Hitaka is going to be heading back through the portal and hitting Dark World. Do they have their Moon Pearl? They do. So going to be able to start making some progress there for Team Oumslaw. And man, that shovel, that's in the back of my mind. I want to know what's going on with that shovel.
I do too. Unfortunately, we might not see it for a while unless we get a hammer somewhere. Because, yeah, I think Hitaka wants to be in the Dark World as long as he possibly can, to not have to trek back through Meridia.
And I love MM2 NES cartridge here, noting that Trollfish today for us is in fact a swordfish. That's a decent enough find. I'm okay with Catfish having a sword today.
It is nice, except when you're the partner who didn't go to Catfish. Then you feel bad for going to Catfish for your tempered sword. Like, I think that's a sword location that you put off for a while, hoping you find the Force Sword somewhere else better.
I agree. Yeah, especially with knowledge of where silvers are, I think you can be a little bit more flexible on when you. Speaking of another sword,
there it is. That's
bailed
good.
out.
Yeah, I think then Blue is definitely not going to get that Catfish sword. Yeah, really quick 2 items there right in the front of Skull Woods. So you don't have to worry about leaving an item in the back without the fire rod.
Yeah, speaking of fire rods, if you have joined us relatively late in the seed, we have 2 island rod items. Our fire rod is on Hylia Island, and our ice rod is on Floating Island on Death Mountain. And I think both of our teams have full information on both of those. They're just waiting for the mirror and the mitts to get both of those.
Yeah, I actually forgot about those rods. Yeah, where is that mirror is the question. Will it be here in Thieves Town, or will it be down here in Lower Norfair? I think that could give either team pretty significant edge. With Hitaka kind of clearing Pod, which Blue already did, Maniacal's gonna have to be the one here to find progression for the team at this point.
And Maniacal's doing a really good job at manipulating Ridley here. This is not something that comes easily. This is definitely something that takes a lot of practice to try and keep Ridley pogoing over and over again, and doing a pretty good job there on Ridley.
Ooh, space jump behind Ridley. I will be happy to see that.
Yeah,
Nike's got all the movement.
Yeah, that's all of the SM boots. We're just waiting for those crucial Link to the Past boots that are going to lead us to a charge beam. But for Maniacal, I think that charge beam is losing value by the moment.
Yeah, I think he's still relatively low in supers, but has all the way till the end of the game to kind of worry about it. More to your point there, you and Died in Hype Cave are both in Thieves Town. Has either of them checked Hype Cave though? That's
Yeah, I'm a little nervous for Died in Hype Cave here, for the exact reason that you stated, is just that you really don't want to be converging until the end of the seed, or you're completely out of checks. And yes, granted, heading down into Southern Dark World makes your routing back around to Thieves Town a little bit longer, but I don't think it is. I don't think this is going to help them diversify their checks and get through what they need to quicker. I give the edge to Oumslaw here for really checking out multiple places, even though it looks like Died in Hype Cave has the edge on Link to the Past checks right now. Especially if Maniacal finds something in Lower Norfair.
Like that arrow. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's always necessarily bad to be in the same place as your partner. I think the thought here is that, like, kind of like you said, like, getting back here to this area is so bad that we might as well clear our crystal and call it a day. Because they don't know when they're gonna get the hammer, when they're gonna get the mitts to have better odds of getting back here faster.
It's definitely fair. And Hitaka's flexing a little bit of a Link to the Past knowledge here, showing us the hammer yump and how that's going to help him route a dark maze a little bit more efficiently. We're going to get a book from Blind Cell, which is another one of those items that unlocks relatively few or small number of locations. So the seed the progression is down to a trickle right now.
Yeah. Ether Tablet being one of those places that is really bad if the mirror is on it. So you would need the hammer for one thing to get to it, but you have to go all the way back around the mountain to get over there. Like, Blind just a map, so just the book from Thieves down here today. Ugh. Why do we still have the shovel? I want to know what's on the shovel. That's what I really want to know.
Yeah, we had a couple questions in chat about the Plasma and Shack Tool locations. Plasma had a piece of heart, I think, but the Shack Tool location, which Hitaka busted into with a really nice gravity jump and the grapple beam, yielded a shovel, which we have yet to see what is behind there. But I guess with the current item set, that's very much in logic, because Maniacal showed us where the high jump boots were, and so that's a very accessible item location, but in a very roundabout way.
Just saying we did see the shovel. I think they're lying. Would you lie to us, chat? There's a lamp on the other shovel. Yay, lamp. Alright, well, we've got fire now. That is extremely exciting. That is the best item in the entire game. That is the space jump of A Link to the Past. The lamp. Ooh!
Oh my
Wow!
goodness!
I said the X-ray. X-ray is always suspicious. That check there. So wow. Oh. So that's easy village access for Oumslaw now. So whatever Hataka's doing, he might just... I think he's going to Catfish. Might just check that and bail, come grab his hammer, and then have the nice Dark World access.
Yeah, it's gotta be a really feel-good find for Maniacal right now, having been stranded in Dark World through the Meridia portal and having to go back and making that long shot check and realizing now that they don't have to go back through Meridia to get back into Dark World. That's huge for Maniacal. Even if it's not a huge time save, it's one of those definite confidence and motivation boosters.
Yeah. Blue makes it out of Hype Cave alive and finds the flute, which is a nice movement item. Not gonna progress Died in Hype Cave at this moment, really, but having the ability to fly around the world is pretty nice, and I'm sure Oumslaw will get that soon since they just found the hammer.
Yeah, this is a potentially pretty big time save for Died in Hype Cave if they hold off on Lower Norfair and end up just routing Ridley at the very end of the seed and avoiding Lower Norfair in general may save them a little bit of time, whereas Maniacal ended up doing a full clear. But the conditions for Died in Hype Cave to realize that really depend on them finding the hammer sooner rather than later.
That or the myths, which are at Waterway. So, full
Holy smoke!
access, whichever portal you want to take your pick. And then, yeah, those myths paired with the flute are really powerful as far as movement around the world. So when Maniacal or Hataka runs into that flute, they'll be pretty happy to see that. Died in Hype Cave is going to follow the book into Desert. I don't think we've seen any Desert today. So we'll have to check if this is boots locked or not. That could give us some pretty important information as to how deep we can expect our boots to be and when we can get our charge beam. It is boots locked. I think that's a good sign. Because if it wasn't boots locked, you could have, like, your boots in Ganon's tower and, like, have to come back out of Ganon's tower to get your charge beam.
Yeah, I think that's probably best case scenario for Died in Hype Cave to get stopped immediately there and put them on the path of some other checks a lot more quickly rather than doing a full clear of Desert. Although they do have to full clear Desert eventually anyway, so...
Hataka is doing a spring ball jump. It does work! I've never seen a spring ball jump there before. That was lovely. I didn't think it would get high enough for that high jump, but it did.
There's an excellent, you can charge a Shine Spark there as well, which, that's, I think, the same rough distance as you see in Pantry, but with the door transitions, it's pretty yucky, and so that is not currently in the logic, I don't think, for climbing Red Tower.
Hataka laying the power bomb to check the item as if he doesn't already know that it's hammer. Very good. I love it. Zora finally getting checked. I don't know if we've seen Zora yet, but didn't have anything one way or the other.
I guess the real question on chat's mind and my mind right now has got to be Maniacal has got this wide open world now with the mitts and the hammer and all of that. It's kind of what do you do first? And I think you've got two big schools of thought here, right? You've either got, depending on how the seed feels, just start clearing dungeons as quickly as possible. You've got to do it, and maybe you get lucky and find lots of progression on your way. And I think that is probably definitely one of the favorite things to do. Or maybe you check really item-dense locations like Dark Death Mountain, potentially as well.
Yeah, I would kind of hate to see a mirror on Dark Death Mountain because you'll be able to grab that ice rod while you're up there, but you'll have to come back down off the mountain to grab your fire rod. But to be honest, we have like a lot of the seed cleared. Like there's not a whole lot left. The biggest places I can think of that we haven't seen are that Dark Death Mountain, Ice Palace, and then everything else is pretty much locked by the mirror.
Yeah, even worse with Ice Palace being a pendant, just kind of dissuades you from making that check a little bit. Not entirely, of course, but for 3 checks and not. I don't think it's the green pendant. Is it the green pendant? It might be.
I think it is. Yeah, it is.
Okay, that's a little better.
Yeah, mirror and green pendant, just so you can not have your fire up for Ice Palace. Sounds like something SMZ3 would do. Yeah, so where are Mirror and Boots from Go Mode here today? Because we know where both rods are, we know where Charge Beam is. Yeah. Taka's snagging the bombos, so he might be thinking Ice Palace.
Oh yeah, that would be kind of a rough location.
It's also good while you're here to grab it, because they don't know what the Turtle Rock Medallion is going to be.
IEEE, we have the Charge Beam on the library right now. So probably required in a co-op seed, but not necessarily. I'm also wondering, I know we got one item in Misery Mire. We definitely got the high jump boots, but I'm wondering if we got a second item. Because now that we have that lamp, you know, the right side, or sorry, the left side 2 checks in Mire are now available. So that could be a pretty nasty location that they might have to go back for as well.
I think chat did say that he got both items. And if the second item was in the big chest, it means he got the big key too. So that's a pretty nice Mire layout, to be honest.
Yeah, then that was definitely the ideal scenario for Maniacal.
Yeah. Doesn't have to feel too guilty about not finishing it yet.
And the blue crayon getting some supers from Ice Rod Cave. Blue crayons, the story of their seed has really been, where are all the supers at? And honestly, I'm wondering a little bit if the blue crayon picked up that super pack just to fight Ridley. Because they're pretty low on ammo, and without the charge beam being accessible, they might have felt like they needed to pick up that ammo in order to progress their seed right now.
Yeah, if I can read it correctly, they're at 50-25. Without that, they would have been 50-20, which is not enough for Ridley. unless you use power bombs as well. And power bomb Ridley can be pretty tricky if it's something you're not used to. You can also end up losing a lot of health trying to do that. So you're best to get as many supers as you can at this point, just to make it bearable.
And it looks like Oumslaw is going to answer, both of our questions here by starting to clear dungeons, but we're also getting Hitaka on Dark Death Mountain and Super Bunny Cave. Not having found anything yet, but they've still got a Hookshot Cave available up there for 4 more checks. You're probably also going to peek the Turtle Rock medallion, although all 3 medallion locations are known to them at this point.
That's true. So they actually might not look at it, but oh, there's Ice Beam. That's nice.
Yeah, I guess Hitaka really wants to know right now, do I need to go and fetch Ether from Mire Shed in order to do Turtle Rock? Because Turtle Rock is a crystal. Oh, I guess Mire is too, so they're gonna have to find Ether no matter what. Forget what I was saying.
The sentiment is there. Yeah, the only funny thing about Turtle Rock is knowing where both the rods are and that you can't get them. It would be kind of funny if Mirror was in the first chest of Turtle Rock.
And this is a cool bit of routing I've never thought of before, is that Hitaka prioritized the more dense locations on East Dark Death Mountain first, and then routed back on over to Spike Cave to make the last check, where maybe they would have bailed on Spike Cave if they had found progression elsewhere.
Ooh, I was gonna say, I don't think he's gonna make it. Yeah, the cave drains quite a bit more magic than the blue cane, which I don't think we've seen on either side. Michael excitedly finding his lamp though, so that's good news. That makes up for the death. Luckily, Spike Cave, you don't have to go all the way around to get to it. You could just climb the ladder on the left side of Death Mountain. So it's not too bad of a loss. It just seems to not have that check.
Yeah, and they're also, I think, going to have to give back their Ice Beam for that, which is not super, it's not going to make a huge difference based on the other movement options that are available to them. But it might end up being something that Hitaka just has to go back in for later when they are at Turtle Rock to make their Metroid rooms a little bit quicker at the end of the scene.
Yeah, Taco is just setting himself up to be able to fake powder here, for which you have to have your magic all the way.
Oh, it all makes sense now.
Yeah, it's good routing. That is an arrow upgrade. Oh, is this our first look at the smith chain? It has to be, yeah, because Dynamite Cave don't have the mitts yet.
Yep. And I think this is Oumslaw's first look at Hype Cave as well.
Be careful, Maniacal. It's dangerous in there. I don't think I've ever died inside Hype Cave, but I'm sure I've died right outside of Hype Cave, where all the Dark World enemies in the entire world like to congregate.
I'm a little worried about Zempt here, given what a good layout for Mire we had for Maniacal, that Zempt doesn't need to be in these rooms, given the location of the big key and the other 2 items in the dungeon. This is unfortunately going to be a time loss for them.
Yeah. Really banking on the cutscene chest. Mire gives a lot of clues about where the big key can and can't be, and which chests are going to be keys. So he might have ended up here. I didn't see the vanilla compass chest, but he might have ended up here with compass map on the left side.
And immediately after that awesome, efficient routing of of Magic Bat, Maniacal is gonna find the magic powder on the pyramid ledge for Oumslaw.
That was all calculated. Here's Sataka on the gold sword. Here in Skull Woods. We'll quickly find the second item, I'm sure. I think it was in this chest. At least Sempton Blue can clear Mire. It's not that Maniacal couldn't clear Mire, but they have the lamp, so they'll have a much nicer time doing so.
Yeah, so I guess we're down to chasing the mirror and the boots for go mode, like you said earlier, and just kind of wondering which one we're going to run into first and where, because we're rapidly running out of checks that our runners want to find for those, or locations that they want to check for those items. And, you know, we have, I think, Smith Chain remaining for Maniacal, and then after that, there's really, you know, I think we have Helmasaur King in Pod, and maybe not much else. I don't know how many items were found in Pod at this point. But if I had to guess, I'd say there's probably an item left on Helmasaur King.
Oh, there's the boots on the Smith.
Okay, that's way better.
That's conveniently close to the charge beam. That's really nice.
Yeah. I think that's a really smart thing to do, is to pick that up immediately. Zempt is going to get a just-in-time fairy there. That was nice. And now, if you're Maniacal, I guess maybe you have to clear desert anyway, so maybe you go and do that before you start going through the whole purple chest chain. Especially without the mirror on hand, that is going to take them a little bit. But it looks like Maniacal is going to do that immediately and not want to leave that behind, just get it done.
Yeah, I like the play. Nobody on the team is like severely behind, but I think Hataka is a little bit behind as far as boss kills, just because he has Ridley to do still, which is one of the longer journeys. But yeah, Maniacal's gonna grab his Tempered Sword, which is a really nice snag right here. Tempered Sword saves a ton of time over Master Sword. Much more significant difference than the Tempered and Gold Sword.
Yeah, particularly because Maniacal may never go and pick up those silvers, having the Tempered Sword available to them. I don't think Maniacal is ever going to go to Pod unless there is progression at Helmasaur King. I think Tempered is good enough. Forgo the silvers, although it is in the first chest, so I guess if you pick up the mirror, you could wrap that in with Eastern, since he hasn't done that yet, and pick up silvers that way. Might be the only other really good option for that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it does kind of depend on where that mirror ends up being. I think maybe if the mirror ends up being in Turtle Rock, then he won't have a good opportunity to grab those. So Tempered will definitely help him out.
And I did forget earlier that we have seen the bug net in Desert, so there's really only one item available in Deserts that's really, 50-50 shot against your lunchbox check.
Yeah. I don't know here where Dyden Hype Cave could find a mirror to give them an edge, because it's really hard to go back for Waterway and X-Ray. They are close together, which would be a good combination, but they're so far away from making those checks. They're going to be put pretty behind.
Yeah, although it does look like more and more from the seed that it's going to lock them out of getting much else done. The mirror seems to be seems to be hiding in like the last possible spot, which is probably as good as Died in Hype Cave can hope for, so that they get steered towards those checks for the hammer and the mitts.
Yeah, now that I say that, this could be that waterway check. I think. Yeah, this makes sense because Zimp doesn't, or he does have high jump. I don't know. This looks like maybe climb supers into waterway. I don't know if they've seen climb supers yet. I know Maniacal did really early into the seed. I just hope they don't take their mitts from waterway and run and orphan the X-ray check.
Goodness. Yeah, that would be rough. Yeah, I mean, of the two, man, I don't know which is better to find first, because, you know, with a glove already, you know, finding either a glove or a hammer might make you want to immediately head back to A Link to the Past as quickly as possible. I think the mitts might be slightly worse, in that it opens up more checks for Died in Hype Cave to check before circling back around to the hammer.
Yeah, hammer, you're right, doesn't really open anything new for them other than Helmasaur if he has an item. Thieves Town Big Chest, but I don't think that had an item either.
I guess it would give them Tower of Hera as well.
Yeah, it's true. I have not seen Hera.
Yeah, I think at this point, if you're Oumslaw, you want Mirror to be the absolute last thing that you find, so that you can do Turtle Rock and Tower of Hera at the same time right before GT.
Interesting, brought up in chat, yeah, neither of Blue or Zempt picked up the grapple in Cathedral. I don't know if they just forgot or had some miscommunication, or if they just hate grapple beam. Any of the above is possible.
Yeah, gosh, I still don't know if we've seen that shovel check.
Chat said we did.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I disagree.
We got the back-to-back shovel check. That's right.
Yeah, the good shovel had the lamp. Yep, we do have mitts, so this will be pretty telling for Died in Hype Cave, whether they take this to X-ray or not. No space jump or grapple, but with speed booster and high jump, the X-ray check is pretty easy still.
And seeing this cool mock ball by Zempt in Green Hill Zone reminds me, there's this really cool, ridiculous trick going backwards through the speedway there into Green Hill Zone. There's a trick called Reverse Slinky. If you're bored and want to learn something ridiculous in Super Metroid, go look up Reverse Slinky. It is just unbelievable.
Hey, we are getting the Ice Palace play from Hitaka. Taking that bombos, putting in work.
Yep. And Zempt is going to make a call that they are going to be very happy about, which is compounding that X-ray check with Waterway. So thankfully, yep, turn around, go get that hammer.
You want that.
And the blue crayon giving us that really cool blue ball strat on the way out of Lower Norfair. That always, you know, you're leaving Ridley behind you, you know, possibly your last tough fight of the game. That always feels nice on your way out. And it looks like Hitaka is going to elect to hit this switch before doing Icebreaker. which is, I'm still learning the ramifications of Icebreaker. I do know that it makes Sinus very happy not having to do bomb jumps in Ice Palace, at least not as often, but I still haven't fully learned the logic. And wow, just no buffering, just freaking nails it first try. Nice job, Hitaka.
Hitaka is just showing off all day long. I cannot believe this. Yeah, normally, you do Icebreaker, it's because you don't have, like, you didn't get the big key in that first chest, and you possibly don't plan on ever finding the big key. Could also be a reason why you would hit the switch before doing Icebreaker. But normally, if you're gonna full clear, you wouldn't need to, because you'll run into the big key, like so. But it doesn't really matter in that case either way.
And chat pointing out that Maniacal is going back to clear out Meyer, which the reason that they are doing this is certainly what MM2 NES cartridge said. They want that second red crystal because they are really down to those last couple checks where Mirror could be at, and they're really doing, again, I think the name of the game here is a really efficient division of labor, and I think Oumslaw has been showing us how well they can do that all game and are continuing to do so with these plays that they're making, even in the late game.
Yeah, I always forget about that Pyramid Fairy.
Oh, and this is really interesting, is Zempt is going to take that hammer and mitts and go immediately to Hera, somewhere that we haven't seen before, along with this ether check, which is really nasty for the mirror, as you mentioned earlier. This could be huge for Daiden Hype Cave.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Especially, you have a little bit of time to kill while your partner goes to grab their mitts and hammer. Getting these far out of the way. Ooh!
Was not to be, though.
That was the mirror in Ice Palace.
Yeah, Ice-T's gonna have the goods. And Hitaka just immediately gonna blast that mirror and be like, nope.
Yeah, that's their go mode. They're
Yep.
done. They just need to snag their rods, one on Hylia Island and one on the floating island, and they're good to go the rest of the seed. But yeah, I did like this call to go to Hera. Kind of the most out of the way check for them right now, especially if they feel like they got to the hammer and mitts late. You kind of want to rush the most out of the way, the last place you think your opponent's gonna look for progression.
You're exactly right, and we'll have to ask Zempt and the Blue Crayon about this at the end, because that would have been hell of an equalizer at this point in the seed for Oumslaw to be methodically checking all of these checks so well, and then to have Daiden Hype Cave. If they would have found the mirror here in Hera, that would have really balanced out a lot of the seed in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
And so I agree. The Hera play was really smart there from the perspective of, if I feel behind, I should do this to try and make up time, and that's a real heads-up play.
I'm finishing it out with the Moldorm kill for good measure. It's a small key. I was not paying attention to Hera items at all. One tracker saying that basement's required for an item. Thanks again to our trackers, MM2 NES cartridge, and Jagger G.
Yeah, so looking like Hitaka is going to want and do this mire and probably desert cleanup together along with Ridley. And meanwhile, Maniacal's going to go and pick up that mirror. They've still got to go back to Wreck Ship for their bow. But other than that, we'll be on a very similar trajectory as Hitaka for finishing up the seed. And man, the hits just keep coming for Died in Hype Cave. Zempt now gonna dive Turtle Rock without the Fire Rod. They're gonna be shooed out of here very quickly. But again, I applaud this play if you're feeling behind and want to try and make up a lot of time. I think this is exactly the correct thing to do.
Yeah, he hopes they'll be shoot out of here quickly. But there's a small key. And if there's another small key in the chain shops, he can get pretty far.
Yeah.
Well, actually, not really as far, because they're looking for the mirror, and they can get to Mimic Cave. Unless they run into a vanilla big key, then they can get all the way to Laser Bridge. So we'll see how far this takes them. Hopefully not too much farther. Oh no, another small key.
Indeed.
So to get any further for Zempt, the big key will have to be vanilla here in the next chest. This is just really unlucky.
Blue Crayon gets a really nice mock ball, reverse mock ball out of the Brinstar reserve room there. That's some pretty fancy tech.
Taka gonna go into Vitreous with just 2 hearts. Shouldn't be a problem with the silvers, but as we all know, when you try to be careful, you end up putting yourself in more danger. But Taka does a nice job. Alright, let's see this big key. Ah, another small key. So he's lucked out. Pretty sure. Yeah. I think he's just realizing it? Maybe not. Is he gonna walk out of Turtle Rock?
Yes, I'm pretty sure the boots were on the Dwarven Swordsmiths.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Zempt is gonna pretty quickly realize here that they are locked out. Yep, without a mirror and without a big key, there's nothing else for them there. Kinda convenient to have Ice Rod on Floating Island there. It's right by Turtle Rock on your way, so that's gonna clean up really nicely for Oumslaw.
Yeah, the bow Maniacal saw probably well over an hour ago. Finally getting to make it his.
Ooh, I wonder if we're gonna get a bowling spark from Maniacal. No, they have space jump. There's like no reason to set that up. All those cool shine sparks are definitely my favorite thing in Super Metroid to do. It's just one of those hallmarks of really great players is to just be able to pull those off on their first try, and it just always looks so clean. Particularly in the randomizers, but with Space Jump, I think, you know, you've definitely got the movement options to just hammer this out as quickly as possible. So Maniacal's going to go and pick up that bow, and the last thing that they'll have to do is pick up Ice Rod on their way. to Turtle Rock. I'm not sure if our tracker is correct here, but it says Maniacal still has a giant lizard dragon to kill. We'll see. We'll have to see
Yeah.
about that. I would not be surprised if that's true. That's a very quick and easily accessible boss in Super Metroid whenever you need it.
Yeah. Make use of that flute or that old man saving quit point and run right in to kill Kraid on your way up the mountain there. Yeah, so Diamond Hype Cave, you're gonna get their mirror really soon here. But they'll be about a dungeon or two behind each when all is said and done.
And it looks like Died in Hype Cave is very close to finding their mirror. Also, potentially, we're going to get to finally see what this Spike Cave item was. I'm reading Dr. RM's comment that they like this seed, that there's not been anything super mean. Maybe that's true. I would say that this has been a super memey seed. Like, it's with the rods on both islands being scoutable and waterway and X-ray being required. Maybe it's not feels bad, but it is definitely, you roll your eyes at those kinds of seeds from time to time, especially with such a confluence of so many of them at once. It can really grate a little bit.
Yeah, there were a lot of things in this seed that were juicy progression items right in view that they couldn't get. So that is actually really funny. Yeah, Diamond Hype Cave actually, they don't have their boots yet still, so even though they find the mirror, they're still gonna be behind in that regard.
Yeah, gosh, and that opens up other pitfalls for them as well, right? Because they could end up diving swamp with that. There's a couple of nasty and plenty of overworld checks that they could spend time looking for the boots in. That's gonna be tricky for them to navigate.
With the ultimate move, checking that pedestal, but of course nothing on it today. And there's that mirror, and yeah, Blue has to continue. Still looking for that those boots. Gonna get the green pendant off Cold Stare here.
And it looks like Zempt pulled a save and quit and just gonna go and try and chase down that mirror as quickly as possible. I agree with this for sure, just because you're gonna have your partner Crayon checking and telling you whether or not you need to do the rest of Ice Palace or not, and so getting that mirror as quickly as possible is definitely going to be something that's crucial for that team. Meanwhile, Hitaka has got kind of a risky play here, going backwards through the lava room, gets through very nicely with Space Jump, and still got 16 tries to get that green gate glitch to finish it off. That can be something that's a little nerve-wracking to do when you're on the spot, because you've got some relatively tight movement through the lava room, and then you're kind of relying on getting that green gate glitch to make it all worthwhile to go backwards through here. But Hitaka's pretty seasoned and shown us flexed for a link in the past for us, so I'm pretty confident they're gonna get this.
You can do it, Hitaka. Yeah, this is definitely a little bit faster if you want to get back to the Mire area, especially if there's no item that you need on that Lore Norfair escape trip. Oh my god, no, Hitaka!
It's my fault. It's because I said something.
It is your fault, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Now he has to Either go back through Gravitron or go through to Golden Chorizo the vanilla way and fight him.
It does look like Hitaka has charge at least, but gonna opt to go through Frog Speedway instead, I think.
Just missiles on the green pendant turn in. I do like to see if we can get any auxiliary items on these extra checks, but I don't know what we're missing in either game. X-ray scope, maybe? Red mail? Oh, no wave beam yet. Interesting.
Morph bombs as well. I think that's most of it. Although I kind of think when you're desperately looking for go mode in such places, it's kind of more annoying to find actual items rather than just ammo or junk items. Yeah, we are getting the swamp play from Blue Crayon. I think it's definitely the smart play because it is a crystal they have to clear anyway. It's just unfortunately not going to yield the boots, and being able to clear swamp in go mode is so much nicer than having to check all the chests. And it looks like Hitaka's gonna stock up on some blue potions because why not? They're rich.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever went to Zora, but either way, getting our moth fight from Maniacal. Moth hiding in the spikes as usual. Maniacal takes her down.
Yep, just to echo what GGDQ and my co-host Polar Bear Bunny said, Swamp is definitely a good play for the Blue Crayon right now. Because even if you don't find the boots in here, if you're Blue Crayon, you're still clearing a crystal that you need to do. So this is a very good idea.
And then, yep, Zemp gonna go ahead and pick up his fire rod. Cause why not? You need it. It will allow him to clear School Woods, but he already has both of the items out of there. But he could make it a School Woods into Smith Chain play, which would be very nice for them.
Yeah, I'm starting to... I think that Died in Hype Cave is starting to really run out of checks overall. And it really depends on whether they chase those mirror-specific checks. But I think if you're out here potentially looking at doing Skull Woods, then doing the Smith Chain and the Lunchbox on the way to Cave 45 and everything is kind of the smarter play. And I think this is going to pay off for Zempt, who realizes, maybe I should go get the Dwarven Frogsmith before I do the hammer pegs here, and going to be happy about having done that first.
Yeah, I think in Go Mode -1, especially if you don't have the mirror, it can be pretty smart to just go ahead and do hammer pigs without the smith. But with the mirror, the smith turn-in is pretty easy to do. Sometimes I'll even do it first before the hammer pigs, especially if I'm doing hammer pigs without the boots, because it's a little bit quicker to turn in the smith than to do this.
Oh, that's a good point.
But alas, it is the smith who has the boots all along.
and Hitaka flexing more Link to the Past knowledge with a pair of excellent diver downs to shorten up their dungeon run and maybe fill out and flesh out their ammo count a little bit before Mother Brain. That's really, I think, all that they could hope to find at this point in the chest they're on the way, because all the swords have been found, all the progression's been found. I guess Wave Beam is another thing you could find to speed up your stand-up glitch on Mother Brain a little bit as well.
Yep. Necessary X-ray scope. Maniacal can do nothing with it, because he only has Crate left. No, Crayon can use it, though, on Dragon.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that Maniacal picked it up. You definitely have runners who are very adaptable to having Grapple and X-Ray in their HUD loadout, and then you get other folks who are like, man, I would much rather skip it if I don't have a specific use for it, because it messes up my item switching.
Yeah. There are too, like, some chests that you just open without thinking about it. And I think that one in Swamp is a pretty good example of that. It's right there. It's hard to resist, you know?
Yeah, I think Zelda games have trained my brain to say, yeah, I have to push that block in order to get through that waterfall in Swamp Palace, and really it only opens the chest, but you're right, it is something you just kind of do compulsively almost after running so many seeds.
I think I'm most guilty of doing that in Ice Palace when I'm in go mode. With the icebreaker, there's just a lot of chests in the way and just movement that you're used to doing, and it just happens, you know?
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of it in Ice Palace and in Pod, just because I'm so bad at knowing key layouts for Pod and for Ice Palace now that Icebreaker is a thing. I get into that comfy habit of just hundoing those dungeons, which is really, particularly for Pod and a little bit for Ice Palace, like you said, something that can save you a little bit of time, but it's definitely substantial in Pod. Or it can be.
Right, we're gonna get that 2-hour crate check from Maniacal here. No. And solo, this would actually be pretty comical. Co-op, of course, he knows there's nothing here. And see if we can get a quick kill out of Maniacal today.
So, we had a discussion earlier about whether it is worthwhile to a runner to go and pick up silvers at some point in the seed. And here, Zempt has had an opportunity to go and pick up silvers from Pod before doing Eastern and routing those in together, and has elected not to in favor of just completing the dungeon. And I would honestly be surprised at this point if they ever go for silvers. But if they were to do it, the time would have been right before coming to Eastern. So I think they're going to go silverless for the rest of the seed.
I could see it being like one of those things where, right when you walk into Eastern, you're like, gosh dang it, I forgot to get my silvers. Because I think at this point it would have saved time, maybe?
Yeah, I guess the big one is Vitreous, and that's all done for them now at this point anyway. But it does provide, some substantial time saves to Armos Knights, Lamulus, and Argus, But also, you may end up having to do Armos Knights, and you definitely have to do Landmo in GT. So there are certainly a couple reasons there to pick them up. But I honestly don't know how it all hashes out. I guess the best thing to say here is that it's kind of a gamble based on how many bosses you have left that you could benefit from getting them for, and what potentially you get out of GT.
Yeah, the Ice Armos is really significant. He's low on arrows now, and I don't know that he will run into any arrows in chests on the way, and if Ice Armos is required, there's nothing worse than, like, getting done with Ice Armos, getting your big key, and starting the climb and realizing you don't have enough arrows for the mimic rooms.
And Maniacal was getting the business from that dead rock. I think it hit him about 5 times there, and Maniacal eventually just said, "I'm not having that," and moved around to the other side of the rock. He's like, "Here, dead rock, this is your side of the mountain. Leave me alone."
Getting the business. Yep, remembering to grab the ice rod before going into Turtle Rock. I could definitely see forgetting.
And I'm pretty sure Maniacal's going to pick up his Ice Beam from here as well to speed up their Metroid game a little bit once they finish up.
Very clever placement, Seed. It's a very common thing to see an item and then think that you have it.
Yeah, I think that's one other challenge that is very understated in this tournament from a co-op standpoint, which is sometimes just having patience with your seed and not panicking about an item and just remembering exactly where it is. Right, so Hitaka found that Ice Beam a relatively long time ago from where Maniacal is, and really that Ice Beam doesn't save Maniacal any time until the very end of the seed, and it's smart of Maniacal to wait until it is on their way to something to pick that up. And sometimes it is difficult to be patient with that stuff. A player who isn't as experienced with co-op might get a little anxious and want to go pick that up as soon as possible, but really having the patience was the right thing to do here. Another kind of related anecdote is relying on your partner for like big key locations, which is something that we almost never talk about in co-op commentary because we can't hear what the players are saying. But I know Polar Bear Bunny, you being a part of the tournament and definitely still in the winners bracket, that's something you definitely do and make a good habit of.
Yeah, we sometimes remember big keys. Yeah, it's definitely takes kind of your skill at routing to a new level in a lot of ways. Yeah, like you said, even straight up progression items, it's not always the best play to just straight up drop what you're doing and rush them immediately when your partner finds them. Really planning ahead, you have to be really strong at that to get far in this, I think.
Yeah, and I think another perfect example of that is Maniacal sitting on that bow for a long time. It really, he had enough knowledge for the tempered sword to be like, okay, I can totally work around this bow until I need it for Eastern Palace. So I'm going to put it off until such a time as it is convenient for me to do so. And just sitting on that was, I think, absolutely the right thing to do. And their overall, again, Ohmslaw's routing in general, I cannot praise it enough. And I really think that is the difference maker in these high level seeds, is you're going to see people be ironically, in a race setting, a little bit more patient and a little bit more focused on efficiency and routing and smart risk taking, as opposed to execution, where a lot of the teams are very similar overall that are remaining still in the tournament.
Yeah, it's like in co-op, it's like you're uncovering tiny pieces of your spoiler log and using that information to route the most efficiently. It's actually a really cool process, and really just, builds character, builds strength in your relationship with your buddy on the other side of the mic.
Yeah, I've never considered doing a what is it they do in Link to the Past Randomizer? They do where you have a partner who reads the spoiler log for you. That sounds like maybe something interesting that could be done with SMZ3. I think I would enjoy that.
Yeah, the pilot spoiler log, I think it's called. You have to trust your pilot to tell you the proper way to go. And that is kind of what it is in this co-op. But it's more like back and forth as you each uncover things. Yeah, just a really cool concept, and I'm really glad that we got to have a tournament with this.
Yeah, I think that would definitely show kind of the diverse skill sets that we see in some of these teams. Like, you definitely see some teams where, you have a team member who has a very obvious skill advantage in one game versus the other, but sometimes even you can have, a dichotomy of skill sets in routing versus execution as well, where I think that kind of pilot setting would be really beneficial. And I think as a person who doesn't always route very well, trying to flex that muscle in my brain a little bit would be really good for me in the long run to be focused on that, and hopefully eventually I would be able to combine those skill sets a little bit better.
Yeah, and it's, everyone has their strengths and everyone's bringing something to the table as part of the team. Yeah, pilot spoiler would definitely kind of bring that out. Gets a nice tracks. Oh, it gets the too much, too wacky tail. That's okay. Take him down. Is this Maniacal's last crystal? It is. He is in the lead of our 4 runners here. Going to be heading over to Ganon's tower really soon.
Yeah, do we do the thing? Do we do the thing?
Thing. Random numbers in chat right now. Go.
We're doing the thing.
We got some. We got some biters. Yeah, there you go. 2 tiles.
I'm really struck by how close this race still is, especially if you only consider A Link to the Past. Really, most of our runners just have Turtle Rock remaining before Ganon's Tower, and really the difference here is Died in Hype Cave both have a boss each in Super Metroid left to go, and so I think at this point it's really Oumslaw's race to lose. Having picked up that mirror just a little bit earlier, it was a plain and simple hunt, and I think again the Died in Hype Cave brew really metagamed the end of their seed really well, given what they knew and what they thought about the seed, which I think is, no matter how it turns out, the hallmark of a really good team.
For sure. I think Zempa ended up a little bit behind, kind of going off the beaten path a little bit, looking for that mirror. But with his partner up ahead, knowing where all the keys are, would be able to let him kind of zoom through the rest of the seed behind him. So we had no keys in Hope Room, more on the torch, so we're gonna get a few keys in here, I'm sure. I always feel like when there's no key in Hope Room, that the key is gonna make you go all the way back to the compass room on the right side. But we'll see. I can always pick up red mail, which is nice.
Yeah, just a little French vanilla in your Ganon's Tower there. And Zempt is going to be finishing up their last Super Metroid boss, except for the final boss. Nice little damage boost on their way out.
Yeah, I love having that screw attack so you don't have to farm on your way out of Lower Fair here. Blue working with only 8 hearts. It's kinda... It's not the lowest I've seen, but it's still pretty low. Chain chomps will get you in 2 hits. There's those Morph Ball bombs.
Yeah, I don't know what your tournament has been like so far, but one of our seeds was 5 heart green mail turtle rock required for Morph Ball off of Green Pendant. It was thoroughly disgusting.
I haven't had anything that bad.
Also, welcome in SpeedGaming 2. You are watching the SMZ3 2v2 co-op tournament for hard mode, and we're closing in on the end as our runners start to head towards Ganon's Tower to finish up the final 2 bosses of the game.
And we could be seeing that Ice Armo's big key. Which might be great for Zempt. I don't know what his arrow count is like right now, but it wasn't looking great earlier.
And to be fair to Hitaka, I've got to point out that Zempt is going backwards through Lower Norfair now with 15 super missiles, and is going to have to deal with this green gate glitch as well.
It's a good try though. Nicely done. Oh yeah, we got a nice Armos big key. And our trackers were definitely counting, so... I hope that says 22 arrows from an ankle. I think it does. And not just 2. It is 2. Wait, is he mimic clipping? It is just 2 arrows, isn't it? So he has to do this.
22.
What a show off. Yeah, it does kind of look like 22 on the comm stream, but yeah, it's 2. Otherwise he wouldn't be doing this.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. There are some, I almost said missiles. A Link to the Past missiles, arrows in the next room. But yeah, none in this room.
Yeah, the regular arrows, you need 2 for each mimic, so you would need 4 at least to get to the next room. This? I don't know how this mimic clip is done.
I don't either. I can tell you though that one thing that if you're a relative novice at A Link to the Past, the way that you move these mimics around is you actually want to double grab the wall. So press A twice and hold it on the second one, and that's what lets you move those mimics around while holding still. You can't just grab the wall, they won't do that. It's weirdly the double grab that allows you to do that. And it's super simple, and now you know.
Yeah, I learned it's because you can't go like right from moving to grabbing the wall for it to work. So like the second grab, you're not moving anymore, and that's why it works, if that makes sense. You're not moving immediately before the grab.
And it looks like what Maniacal is doing here is he's trying to move those mimics, and he's buffering with pauses. He's trying to get them to move down and left 1 pixel on like 1 frame at a time. This is very similar to like boots clipping. For those of you who do lots of SMZ3 multi-world, I think that's what he's trying to do, is to get the mimics inside that block in order to despawn them off screen.
There we go. Good job, Michael. Yeah, you can get the arrow pot here. Nice. Sitting cozy.
Meanwhile, we get a double crystal showdown on Dyden Hype Cave side. And that's going to be the Blue Crayon's last crystal. And one thing that is very common in SMZ3 is to have one, especially in co-op, is to have one person check Meridia and the other person not. Just in case there's nothing there, you can just use the back door to get to Dragon very easily. And so this is part of the reason why the Blue Crayon is going to go and do GT first, is because Dragon is very accessible after defeating Ganon. It's just off to the southeast a little bit off the map. The other thing is that, of course, Blue Crayon is going to be feeding the big key information in GT to their partner.
Exactly right. Yeah, at the end of the day, it would have been faster for Maniacal to go to the Dark World first and grab the silvers. It's just, I think, he probably wasn't thinking about the fact that he might not have very many arrows and have to fight Ice Armos for the big key, things like that. Just not thinking quite that far ahead at the moment. Because the walk from the portal to Pod to Mirror is pretty long and probably negates the time save on Ganon that Silvers provides. So I can understand not picking them up.
Yeah, that silly cornfield maze is ridiculous. I've never heard it called that before, but that's what I'm calling it from now on.
I love corn.
But yeah, and then you've got the Kiki cutscene there as well, and steals your rupees. Yeah, I could see a lot of good reasons why you would want to part with those.
I would get them because I'm a baby and I like them. But yeah, it's if the big key wasn't behind Ice Armos, it would have been probably a wash. Erring on the side of faster to not get them, but here we are. No big deal, because he's ahead anyway. In the co-op, it does have to be both people on the team has to finish for your team to be finished, so Maniacal finishing light years ahead of Ataka is not going to help his team at all.
Yeah, that's a very important point about the tournament format. If you weren't familiar with it, it is exactly as Polar Bear Bunny described. It's based on the last person on the team that finishes, contrary to some other tournaments that you may be familiar with, which might use average time. This is definitely the last person on your team to cross the finish line is your time. And Maniacal preparing that hook shot ahead of the Moldworm kill. No hovering sorcery here today.
It's the good boomerang as his
The
reward.
good boomerang.
The good one.
I will allow it. It lets you do splash deletion and stuff. I'm okay with calling the red boomerang the good boomerang. Some may disagree.
It glitters. Yeah, just to remind everyone, this is a losers bracket, round 5 race. So, Dyden Hype Cave, taking second place in this race would get them eliminated from the tournament at this point. And Oumslaw, provided they take the win, which appears so, will go on to face Plasma Gopher in the next round.
Yep, and Plasma Gopher is that's IEEE and Shadow Amp, who were both lurking in chat there for a little while. I can totally attest that is a very strong team to be matched up again for the next match.
Peeking. Taka gets a nice one round Lambo 2 there with those silver arrows. All important. I just like how he's the one with gold sword and silvers, like extra fast cannon. Although I think Maniacal can do the 1-in-1 with the tempered sword. We'll see. I sure can. Oh, I think he missed his spin there, so he won't get it for this phase, looks like. But that's okay.
So Maniacal is going to abuse iframes from, is it iframes? But it's a type of invulnerability while using hookshot here. Also the cane a little bit. The cane uses a little bit less magic than the cape, but you can also abuse the cape a little bit by grabbing the wall and your magic meter won't deplete. But Maniacal is very conscious of his magic here at this time, because he's going to want to set up a torch glitch to kill Ganon in a silverless fashion. And so managing his magic is going to be pretty important, as I think it was Hitaka who spent their riches on blue potions, and I don't know that Maniacal made their way over to the potion shop.
I'm definitely on Team Potion. Team way too many potions that I don't end up using, but you never know. When you're in a pinch, it's nice to have.
Yeah, and that lamp makes it super easy to pull off the torch glitch here, so I think Maniacal is going to be in really good shape with the tempered sword to get their spins on Ganon here for the finish. It just takes a little bit of patience and a little bit of repetition in the movement.
Hopefully you can get him into some good positions for the triples, but doubles just fine, has plenty of magic, especially with that half magic. He's not.
We got 4 bosses on screen for you folks at this time. Crazy stuff going on.
All sorts of animals. That is Ganon down. A little G for Maniacal takes down the first major boss.
And goodness, that wave beam must have been in one of the mirror checks that we didn't see, or maybe green pendant. There's not a whole lot of places it could be, is my point, or GT.
Yeah. We need Mother Brain to tell us where the wave beam was. Can't say I can think of an item in Super Metroid that we didn't see, but yeah, there's definitely some stragglers out there in Link to the Past. Taka getting a nice healthy amount of warps there from Ganon. The SMZ3 does not seed the bosses, so things like warps and blue balls from Aga. Not seeded, so totally random.
And Hitaka with 3 blue potions and everything is not going to be worried at all about getting that torch glitch.
Yeah, definitely not. It's nice if you can get it But if you have silvers, no need to really super go out of your way to get the torch glitch. That's again and down for Hitaka. Little G for him as well. That'll actually be really close.
Yeah, I was about to say that silver fight for Hitaka is really going to close the gap between them, Maniacal, and get them to finish a lot tighter as a team overall. Meanwhile, we've got the blue crayon doing some geometry homework here. Gonna be trying to finish up for their first little G. And gonna go ahead and hook shot the door and make some cute video game sounds.
Yeah, the tacos do that too. Maybe hook shot clinks for good luck. Okay, yeah, so 15 arrows. There's another arrow pot in the next room for Zim. That'll be 20. Blue cane actually works really nicely on Armos Knights, if you didn't know. It's actually grabbing them. Just arrows. We will see an all blue cane all day fight.
And Maniacal gonna be our first to attempt a baby skip here, but without the wave beam, it's basically you're gonna get nom-nommed by the baby here. You're gonna get a hug.
Yeah, definitely a lot tougher without that wave beam. So Zim saves strategically exactly 4 arrows. Right? Okay, he's okay. Arrows is a little weird. They are like more weak to the weaker weapons. Like they die pretty quickly to things like pokes and blue cane and cane of Samaria blocks if you are strapped for arrows.
Yeah, I recently learned, I think you can damage the Armos Knights with the blue boomerang? Is that right?
Sure can. That takes like 48 hits, I think, or something like that. Something insane. I remember my first randomizer playthrough of this game. I hadn't even finished my vanilla playthrough, and the big Stalfos that fall from the ceiling in Ice Palace, I had no idea how to kill them, so I killed them with Boomerang, and it was a lot of shots. I'll just say that. Nice spring ball zip skip from Maniacal there. Which, not named very well because you don't actually need spring ball to perform it.
What is your preferred Zeb skip?
I just do the classic turn off screw attack, make MST mad. I shoot from under the Zeb because I don't have angle down, so I can't crouch and angle down at the same time. But yeah, just the classic ice zip skip. I'm a simple person.
Yeah, I'll usually give Speed Booster or Shine Spark about 2 tries before I switch to Ice if I have that option available to me. But I've been in enough seeds now where I haven't had Ice to finish that I've gotten okay at doing the Shine Spark skip, because really anything beats having to spend the ammo, especially in a co-op situation where you might have to refill or could be penalized for not knowing a lot of different types of Zeb skip.
Yeah, that's definitely true. It's something you really have to be conscious about if you don't quite have the skill to perform the speed zip skip. Yeah, getting down here and realizing you didn't manage your ammo properly is just the worst feeling.
And as advertised, Blue Crayon is going to route after Ganon directly to Dragon and take that nice little route to finish up right before Mother Brain here. And Maniacal has pulled off their stand-up glitch, Just gotta be a little careful you don't jump too high into Mother Brain here on that first one. Once the baby grabs onto you and you start regenerating health, a lot of the threat really disappears.
I found it interesting that Maniacal decided to go for stand-up because, at best, it's gonna save about 20 seconds. He doesn't have wave beam, so it's gonna save less time than that even. And he is a little ahead of Hitaka, so he didn't really need to do this, didn't really need to take the risk, but maybe it's some sort of muscle memory for him to just go ahead and do it.
Or maybe a point of pride for their team as well.
I can't let him catch up.
Yeah, they're definitely, sometimes, you know, depending on who your partner is, there's definitely a little internal race going on as well, right? But definitely bravo to Maniacal for pulling that off. With only 7 E-tanks, that's pretty tricky. You have no room for error if you want to set up that stand-up glitch. Other than the reserve tank that they have. I don't actually know how many they do have, but still can be pretty tight.
Yeah, if he had taken more damage, pausing to refill with your reserve would basically negate the time save from the stand-up anyway. So, yeah, very, very, very good managing his health there. Good thing about that Spring Balls up skip is you get to keep your screw attack on. Helps a little bit through this escape, I'm sure. I don't know because I never experience it. I always have my screw attack off from this up skip, but it seemed like it was helpful.
I think it's more, you know, that safety blanket that you've got going on, right? That you can just be a little bit more willy-nilly with your jumps, or, you know, even miss your step a little bit and be pretty okay.
Really good triple for that last hit on Agatu from Zemp there. I don't want to mention that. But yeah, we do have our first person to the ship. Maniacal finishing with a time of 2 hours, 35 minutes, and 31 seconds. GG to Maniacal. Big G.
And did Hitaka go for Blue Bomber there? I'm not sure. I missed it. But they definitely had to charge a second Shine Spark there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that Blue Bomber is definitely extra swaggy, and Hitaka's been flexing on us all seed.
He really has. I cannot believe this. Actually offended by Hitaka this season. Talked about how hard it was getting to Shack Tool without high jump or space jump. He's just like, what? What do you mean? Alright, and that's a finish for Hitaka and Team Oumslaw with a time of 2 hours, 36 minutes, and 44 seconds. GG to Oumslaw, taking the win, moving on, alive for another week, going on to face Plasma Go Burr next week. We'll see if we can get them in for an interview while Died in Hype Cave finishes up. I think actually they're gonna take the forfeit, and so we'll just invite them in for an interview as well. We've got, who is it? Hitaka here with us. Welcome in, Hitaka. GG.
Hi, thanks, GG.
Can you give me sand gravity jump lessons, please? I need them. Thank you.
Yeah, Maniacal. Speaking of flexing, Maniacal is like, oh, I don't want to check Shack Tool. I want to do no high jump, gravity jump, and I just like, okay, I'll do it when I get over there. Then I just first try, easy, no problem.
I couldn't believe it. I was
Yeah,
like,
I knew it wasn't going to go well for me. I was just like, I've been down this road before, and it's probably not very fruitful.
And then I fail a 16 try GDG later, so heading down.
That's actually not on you, Hitaka. That's on me. So I'll take
Converse.
the blame for that one.
Right?
Yeah. It's because I said
I-
something.
I even like did charge shots on really to save extra supers for it, and I still blew it. So that was fun.
we do
But fair play. I also did it to the other team whenever they were coming back out as well.
it didn't work that time though.
It was at least fair. But yeah, that was quite a seed, and there were a lot of really impressive moments from both teams. But I think the real MVP, the difference maker was how well Oumslaw divided their checks and doing all the little things. Like Polar Bear Bunny definitely mentioned during the seed that having seen the bow and scouted the bow in Wreckship Reserve, and then I think Died in Hype Cave chose to go through bowling and everything, and I think Maniacal bugged out of there after picking up the gravity suit because you're going to have to come back there anyway. You might as well let your partner come and get it with Speed Booster. And it was little tiny things like that I think ended up adding up to a difference in this race.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a few little things like that. Go ahead, Hitaka.
Yeah, when I found Speed, Maniacal was already in Wreckship, and I thought, oh, maybe I should go do Wreckship. Like, you should like do up to E-Tank and then just leave. But then I was in the middle of Norfair, and I still had to like finish clearing upper Norfair, so we decided that would be kind of not great, and there probably wasn't anything Wreckship Reserve, right? I mean, it's usually garbage, right? So
Right.
we didn't go for that one. And then I finished clearing upper North. Okay, I'm gonna go up Red Town, and then I'll do X-ray on the way to wreck ship. And Maniacal went, no, that's a bad route. Don't do that. So I thought, fine, I'll just go in the portal and save and quit.
I stand by it. It is a bad route. It would have worked out brilliantly.
Also, I feel like getting Hammer late there led us to Mitts earlier than we otherwise might have, so it probably worked out in the end.
I think that was the same for us too. I found Mitts and Hammer at the same time.
Yep.
Essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We found Hammer and then Mitts, but yeah.
Yeah,
I did it in a different order.
in the commentator booth, we were definitely worried that Died in Hype Cave would bug out after having found the Mitts and Orphan the Hammer. And thank goodness the mirror was buried in such a gross location, because that led you guys, I think, to picking up the hammer in the end as well. But continuing to talk on the subject of efficient routing and impressive choices in routing, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Died in Hype Cave, I think you guys were metagaming there a little bit at the end when you were trying to find the mirror, and that maybe you felt a little bit behind whenever you found the gloves and hammer and said, okay, we're going to Hera and Turtle Rock because this is probably the last places our opponents would look, and it would be a great equalizer.
Yeah.
Yep. And honestly, I felt behind since about 10 minutes in. I made so many mistakes and just forgot what I was doing while going to a check and walking right past it. I think there was like at least 5 times I doubled back, like an elevator or 3 rooms later. Like, what am I doing?
Oh yeah, I had a brain fart moment in TR. I was listening to the GTA. My brain just went like zoned out in like cross keys mode or something, because I started going like backwards from the pipes after stealing the pokey key. I don't know what that was about.
You gotta get that big magic.
That's right.
It's free.
Also, I bullied Maniacal into tugging paws.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you.
Actual correct. I would have gone for Turtle Rock exit spin speed. But
then
nope. I was told you're ahead, tug paw, and I was like, yeah, okay.
but then I didn't get lamp, so I'm sorry.
You
I
didn't?
think
No.
I think there was a certain Dead Rock that had something to say
Oh my
about
God.
tugging paws at Turtle Rock.
Yeah, I heard about this one.
It's exceptional, dude. If you watch it back, it's the most absurd Dead Rock I've personally ever had. Given that he had two different axes on which he could move, either of which he could choose to like not screw me. It was a bad time. But the only other thing with the routing that I liked was after finding the second item in Mire, getting out and not doing Vitreous and coming back to it and just kind of hoping that we'd find the flute and mitts at some point, and that one of those wasn't in Pyramid. Or me making Hitaka find out that was going to be the eventuality, because it was like 7 heart, Master Sword, no safeties, Dark Mire, where like it
No
was
bow,
kind
no
of
hammer.
shaky. Yeah, no bow, no hammer, no cape, and I was just like, I like probably could, but it's gonna be slow.
Yeah, all right. Like either you die or you win, but it takes fun. So you have to be.
So you went into Mire without a fire source then?
Yeah, I went
Yeah.
into Mire without the fire source, got both items, and was like, I could beat this, but no.
Yeah, I was really hoping there'd be something fire locked in Mire, because speaking of routing, this is probably the routing I've hated the most out of any seed I've ever done as a co-op, because I was thinking of going into Lower Norfair, but as soon as I was about to, Blue found both Screw Attack and Plasma in Meridia, and I was like, well, I kind of want those before I go into Lower Norfair. But at the time, we were thinking, well, that's also our only Dark World access.
Yeah,
So-
it was junk.
So yeah, unfortunately, it was, because both of us ended up just doing that. So we both went into Meridia and just went Dark World. We essentially were in Thieves Town at the exact same time. We're just like, if we don't end up with an easy way back here, we might as well just clear the dungeon. So we were both in Thieves Town. Then we found the mirror or the lamp. We both got that, and the only thing we ended up getting was lamp and flute from all this whole Dark World access.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So it was that single-handedly probably put us behind, if I had to say anything. But I was hoping at least that the fire source would be valuable at Mire, which it ended up not being at all.
Yeah.
That was something that had huge ripple effects from the very beginning of the seed, which was Hitaka took advantage of that tree pool right outside of Uncle and immediately went to escape, while Died in Hype Cave was a little bit more patient and ended up breaking the back of Escape and finding that Moon Pearl really early, which led to the routes that you folks took, an hour and a half later. I think, Maniacal, you didn't have the Moon Pearl when you first exited through Meridia, was that right?
That's correct. I did Meridia, didn't have the Moon Pearl, but got the Main Street Glove and said, okay, since I didn't go and break Escape, I'm going to immediately save and quit back of Escape, and then get on the Lower Norfair play, since I am the one with Screw Attack and Plasma at this point, and found Moon Pearl, and then kind of stuck to those guns, and then Lower Norfair. While Hitaka was through Meridia doing Dark World, I decided that it made sense for me to get the last 2 Super Metroid locations at that point and spiked the mitts and hammer.
Yeah, we stayed out of LN initially because we had terrible item loadouts for that, and then when we found Plasma Screw, we decided to go for that.
Whoa, speaking of spikes, by the way, there was some excellent routing going on there in which Hitaka skillfully drained all of their magic to check Magic Bat there. We know
that was definitely the intent there.
Yeah, this is the best place to die, while lifting up the rock to the Spike Cave chest.
Yeah.
I don't want to check this item, I just want to die here.
We never found out what was in Spike Cave. If it was
It
whale
was a
beam,
missile.
okay,
all right.
yeah, we never got back to it. It was on my route. As soon as I had gotten through Pyramid, I was going to do the rest of Death Mountain, get Ether Tab since I had the book, Hera, and then do Spike Cave. So like that's how we were going to kind of put it all back together and make up for that. But then Hitaka got the mirror, and we sort of called off the dogs at that point.
Gotcha.
Also, speaking of plasma, shoutouts to Maniacal Flying Plasma. I was taking a spacer.
Yeah, Tracy noticed that in chat.
It's kind of funny. Blue finding the mirror made me call off going to blacksmith the moment he got it.
Oh no!
Oh, yeah.
But I went back to it immediately after getting the mirror, so it wasn't that bad. But it still like obviously cost a little bit of time.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a sensible play. Mirrorless Smith is pretty gross.
Yeah.
I got the boots, and then we found the mirror.
It was pretty much essentially the same for us.
Yeah.
And one other thing that we discussed a little bit in the seed that Oumslaw did really well is being patient with the seed, right? And making sure that you get stuff on the way and do some really efficient routing. And again, I think Maniacal showed this off perfectly by waiting to get the bow until just the right moment, waiting to pick up the ice rod and the ice beam until it was on your way. And having patience in a co-op seed is something that it's a really nuanced skill, I think, and doing it well is something that is difficult to develop, and I think you guys did a great job with that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
It turned out pretty fortunate. I think maybe we're getting a little too much credit on that because like none of the items had a bunch of stuff behind them. Like it wasn't like Hammer and Mitts where like Hitaka did have to chase to those because you need them to do other stuff. Whereas like Ice Beam is just a convenience. Ice Rod's necessary, but bow is necessary, but type of stuff.
Yeah, and actually I think if he put bow off a little longer, he could have done the bowling skip.
Yeah,
with the X-Ray Swamp.
Yeah, because
that was
and I also got my fire rod at a bad time.
Yeah, because we were thinking actually if when I got the bow and he didn't have it yet, but if we find X-Ray, then Maniacal could actually do bowling skip, but got a little too late for that, unfortunately.
Yeah, so instead I did bowling and then also mirrored into fire rod, then went and did skull and then did swamp for no reason really other than okay, I've got mirror, now I need to start collecting all the stuff because I was feeling like because I had to go back in through wrecked ship through bowling and we never found X-Ray, and then also had to go back through mire after collecting the items, that was likely putting me pretty well behind, and then like having sort of the scattered collection stuff, I wanted to get that done. As it turned out, I wasn't as behind as I was concerned, but I've the past couple of these I've ended up pretty behind Hitaka, but this time Hitaka did Crocomire, so he finished behind me.
Yep,
that's the litmus test.
You were ahead enough that you could do Mimic Clip shenanigans because you didn't have enough arrows.
Yeah.
Shenanigans is a good way to describe it. I missed one arrow on Ice Armos and hadn't grabbed the pot in the bonk room or in the Bob Chest room. And so I was just like on perfect arrows and then messed up one shot in Ice Armos, and then the whole thing fell apart.
I had a bit of an issue with that too. I just used my butter sword to kill half of them.
Yep.
Yeah, you could have just stabbed the last Armos to death. I guess
that would have made some more sense than my approach, which was like maybe I'll get arrows behind Ice Armos, and if not, I can always Mimic Clip Mimics 1. Which
you got arrow capacity.
Yeah. As it turns out, I need a better visual indicator of which input to do an up instead of a buffered instead of a down for the mimics to walk off the screen, because they walked back up into the room like 4 times on me. So it probably took 3.5 or so minutes for me to get the mimics 1 mimic clip.
On a related note, 2 of you picked up silvers from Pod, and both of the followers that went into Eastern eventually elected not to pick up silvers. I'm wondering if that was a conscious decision on both of your parts, if you have any regrets on leaving silvers
I think
behind.
it was a mistake. I should have went to Pod and just grabbed the first chest and then mirrored out.
Dempt actually was saying he was regretting that as he was entering Easter, and he was like, well, it's too late now.
Yeah, I obviously didn't have silvers. In hindsight, like, yeah, it would have been better to grab them. It was a conscious decision to skip them because I wasn't super worried about it, just because like my arrow count was fine until it was Ice Armos and I mismanaged and like I messed up the fight. Like it took a few things going badly for me to get really punished for skipping the silvers. So maybe it would have been a more conservative play to just grab them. Obviously would have worked out, but then wouldn't have had all of the mimic clip fun. So
yeah, I think I actually encouraged him not to grab them because he'd already done Biddy.
It's true.
He had tempered for Ganon, so I said, you don't need that.
Yeah.
Just go get Kiki and carry more. Yeah.
With your gold sword.
Yeah.
And your silvers.
I was totally going to get tempered at Catfish until he found the one in Skullwoods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I was going to grab tempered before doing a bunch of dungeons.
It was kind of interesting because since we were so close in the Dark World, he found the sword of Catfish, and then I got the sword of Catfish before he found the sword in Skullwoods, which he went straight to. So I don't know if I would have skipped it still, but it ended up working out where I just ended up skipping the Skullwoods one instead, at least until the end.
Yeah, it was kind of close. I mirrored out, or I save and quit out of Pyramid rather than walk up to Catfish, and just was like, I'll just grab the Skullwoods one, but it's not that much faster or slower.
I've been kind of hogging the interview, Mike. Polar Bear Bunny, do you have any burning questions about the seed?
No. I have to pee. But, Died in Hype Cave, I did, like, we were kind of talking about, it was very different how your team routed kind of compared to Oumslaw, but like not in a bad way, definitely a way that I found kind of interesting, because you guys, you were kind of like on top of each other in the Dark World there, but I think that's kind of a classic Link to the Past play. You don't know when you're going to get back.
We almost never do that, and the reason it came up this time is because we constantly like made mistakes or had to double back on things, so since we always felt behind, we were like, this has to pay off or we're just like, it's not going to go well. And then every single gamble we took just, made it worse.
Double lamp.
I still think it was absolutely the right thing to do in your situation. Like if the mirrors in Tower of Hera, that's a race, man. That is I'm totally unable to call it. You would have made so much time if it were in a location like that, or Ether Tablet. Polar Bear Bunny was pointing out that's a pretty awful location for the mirror.
Yeah, when Hitaka found the mirror, I was probably about 3.5 to 4 minutes out of those checks. So, like, that's already there. I mean, you saw kind of how close it was. It was within 10 minutes. So, like, depending on how much earlier they're there and how long they have to leverage the mirror ahead of us, like, that could be, a pretty big thing.
If I had to guess the time between you guys finding the mitts and the hammer and them, probably between 5 and 10 minutes, so that lead kind of stayed steady throughout the whole end of the race. But yeah, really was really heads up to go ahead and check hair on the ether tablet right away. I really liked that call.
I also like the call to finish by killing yourselves in Hype Cave. That's a big old thumbs up from me.
I mean, we gotta leave the tournament with some sort of flair, right?
That's right. I appreciate that. Yeah, it will be your last race, but you guys put up a heck of a fight. Really showed off some great routing and teamwork, and had a lot of fun. I could tell. Even so,
Maybe in the second half of the seed when we were like, we're probably losing anyway, so who cares?
yeah. Sometimes seeds are like that. They're just so bad. They're funny.
Yeah, no, like we said, like every gamble just did not pay off in any way for us. So we just kind of were like, all right, well, we're here and we've done what we can.
We literally were racing each other through a couple of the dungeons because we entered at like the same time. So I was like, I'm racing you. Screw the other team.
The 1v1 classic.
That's what I do. My team. I play to win.
Yeah, well, we all know you're the best on your team.
Exactly.
Does anyone else have any general comments about the seed or about the tournament?
Seed was fine. Had some crap item locations like that Moon Pearl logically was rough for us, obviously. Mitts and Hammer were bad. The bow and gravity were kind of in a sequence that like it could work out badly as we ended up with, and then Mirror was where it was, but just another sort of classic SMZ3 full clear. It felt like a good co-op seed in that regard, where like it played it played in a pretty balanced way, at least for us. So that was nice. As far as tournament in general, I'll reserve that for now.
Yeah, this would have been a pretty garbage solo seed, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I really regret, because I don't know if you guys remember, but when I got my gravity and bow, I went back to the ship and I refilled without saving, and I was like, oh, I should check waterway. So I went back in and saved, and then ended up changing my mind by the time I got back down there, which I obviously regret at this point, but I think that probably would have isolated our hammer still, because I don't think I would have done that at the same time. But I don't know. It's hard to say when you go back. But
yeah, it's tough finding a big item like that and then making like a pivot call to chase the cool thing that you just found versus like checking one other slow kind of crappy to get to location.
Especially without grapple or space jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I did either of you see grapple in Cathedral? Did you skip it on purpose?
Didn't see it.
Didn't see it. Squint.
You skipped Cathedral, Zempt? What the heck?
Yeah.
What?
How dare?
Did I forget to go to Cathedral?
Somebody did.
Was it there?
Grapple. Yeah.
Oh.
Grapple is Cathedral Missile, yeah.
I definitely went out of my way to grab Grappling Beam on my way to my Master Sword.
Man, I really wish that Hammer was there so I could blame Zempt for this loss instead of myself.
That definitely would be. Yeah, I just went straight to Croc instead, but yeah, no, I probably should have checked Cathedral when I was there. I mean, it saved us time. We didn't check Shack Tool.
That's true.
Fair point.
Shack Tool
Part of the
had
plan.
the shovel.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
fantastic. So you have
Supers,
to
I
keep it.
think.
Yeah.
And then Hitaka had the gall to tell me to mirror out of GT and just dig for arrows.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
I was like, when do you think I went and got that shovel, dude?
Oh, that's funny.
You sure didn't try to grapple jump through the hole the first time you were there.
I've never tried to grapple jump through that hole.
I want to see this grapple jump to Shack Tool.
Yeah.
Or not grapple jumps, gravity jump.
Yeah, I didn't try the gravity jump. I said, I'm going to beef this for at least a minute. I'm going to hope that Hitaka finds something to make it easier, or just make him do it.
Yeah, making Hitaka do it is definitely the right call.
Well, last time he
it worked
tried to
out.
ice clip. Last time he tried to ice clip and didn't get it and gave up, and then said, "You go do it. You have X for me." And then I got a stage with these guys.
Oh man,
Yeah, Hitaka is like the special teams roster guy here, where I'm like, yeah, you got your spot on the team with the special teams play today. Like you were not getting cut from the roster. Shack Tool skills from Hitaka.
It's because I don't kill Shack Tool unlike some people.
I don't either.
No, you don't.
He has to get there first.
Yeah, I don't even go there.
We all know who kills Shack Tool multiple times.
hello.
Oh no.
Before this gets any uglier, I think I'm going to close out this interview. But this is definitely one of the best interviews I've ever had. I think you guys are a ton of fun, and for that reason, chat, you should absolutely be following Hitaka, Maniacal, Zempt, and the Blue Crayon, as well as my co-commentator, Polar Bear Bunny. We had MM2 Nest Cartridge and Jagger G on our tracker. Thank you guys so much for helping out, and Diesel for setting up our stream. Again, cannot say enough good things about these folks. Maniacal and Hitaka will be going up against Plasma Go Burr next, which is the team that I lost to, which I know is a switch for you, Hitaka. Hitaka usually is the one that knocks me out of tournaments. So, good luck to you against Plasma Go Burr, and enjoy the rest of the tournament, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Thanks. Good night.